And everybody settle down. We are getting ready to begin. Everybody settle down. We are getting ready to begin.
They seem kind of settled to me, you know.
It's a rowdy.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's a. We call this hearing room the shoebox for obvious reasons.
Good morning and welcome to the New York City Council hearing of the Committee on Environmental Protection, Resiliency, and Waterfronts. At this time, can everybody please silence your cell phones? If you wish to testify, please go to the back of the room to fill out a slip. At this point and going forward, no one is to approach the dais. I repeat, no one is to approach the dais. Chair, we are ready to begin.
Thank you, Sergeant. Let me just get myself together. Oh, that's the Brooks Paris thing. Yep. Okay, here goes. Good morning. I'm Councilmember Jim Gennaro, Chair of the Committee on Environmental Protection, Resiliency, and Waterfronts. Today we will hold an oversight hearing, on so-called last mile deliveries and their effect on air quality. Additionally, we will be hearing two bills sponsored by my esteemed colleague, Aviles, Councilmember Aviles to my left. First bill, Intro 107, which would require DEP to designate high traffic corridors around the city as heavy use thoroughfares and increase air quality monitoring along those roadways. And Intro 1130, which would require the Commissioner of DEP to promulgate rules aimed at reducing emissions related to so-called indirect sources, which are facilities or infrastructure that affect mobile sources of air pollution, like combustion engine delivery trucks, to cite one example. But I'll leave it to Councilmember Aviles to speak further on her bills. I'm sure she has a lot to say about her good bills. I'll recognize her after my statement. For more than a decade, e-commerce sales in the U.S. have grown at a great rate. As of 2021, approximately 80% of deliveries in New York City went directly to residential customers, with more than 80% of New Yorkers receiving a package delivery at least once a week. It's a lot of packages. The New York City Metropolitan Council predicts the city will see 530 million tons of truck transported freight in 2045, a 67% increase compared to the tonnage transported by truck in 2012. With this increase in truck traffic comes the potential for a profound increase in environmental well, the statement says harm. I'm going to go with what the statement says. Increase in environmental harm, particularly in communities where the distribution centers are often clustered, which are already struggling with more than their fair share of that burden. And we talk about trucks. We're not just talking about the last mile stuff. We're talking about trucks who are just coming over the GW Bridge to bring stuff to the 5 boroughs, Nassau, Suffolk County. So it's all included. Like the last mile is one aspect of it, but it's a much larger picture. Back to the statement. Vehicle exhaust contains 4 of the 6 so-called criteria air pollutants, monitored by the U.S. EPA through the Clean Air Act, and those would be particulate matter, ozone, nitrogen oxides, often called NOx, and carbon monoxide. These pollutants can have severe health consequences, particularly in cases of childhood exposure. Medium and heavy-duty trucks, like the ones often used to deliver our goods, contribute an outsized amount of these pollutants relative to the number of them on the road. Nationally, the trucks, represent less than 10% of vehicles, but account for more than 60% of NOx and fine particulate matter emissions. It is clear that we must work to ensure that shifts. It is clear that we must work to ensure that shifts in how that shifts in how New Yorkers receive goods. I did read this already. For some reason, I'm having difficulty with it. Okay. It is clear that we must work to ensure that shifts in how New Yorkers receive goods do not come at the expense of our health and the environment. Shifting the transport of goods from roads to New York City's waterways and rail freight network can reduce congestion, minimize the negative effects of overweight trucks on city infrastructure, and reduce associated pollution. Moving goods by water generally produces fewer emissions per ton mile traveled compared to road transport, and trains, wait for it, can move a ton of goods nearly 500 miles on a single gallon of fuel. Maximizing the use of these assets could potentially remove thousands of the most polluting vehicles in our city from the road each year, significantly reducing emissions associated with growing e-commerce trends. I look forward to hearing from the administration about how we can better utilize our existing infrastructure networks to address the growing issue of emissions related to last mile delivery activities. I see we have people here, as we should, from the trucking sector. I don't think the trucking sector has anything to worry about being phased out anytime in the near future. I think the concept is to sort of blend other modalities that can support the good work that the truckers do. Okay, now the thank you part. I'd like to thank the committee staff. We have Legislative Council's Austin Malone, way to my right, who's been serving in an interim capacity. This is a special hearing in that Natasha Bynum, to my immediate right, this is her first hearing as lead counsel to the committee. So this is a banner day. Cue the balloons. No balloons. Okay. Balloons are not environmentally friendly, so these imaginary balloons we're going to stick with. And also Sierra Townsend, the associate counsel to the committee, who also does a great job. Policy analyst Ricky Chawla and Andrew Bourne, financial analyst Tanvir Singh, as well as my legislative director Josh Gachette, for all of their hard work. I have already recognized Councilmember Aviles, and we're also joined by Councilmember Marmorato. It's always a pleasure to be with Councilmember Marmorato, the pride of the Bronx. And so, and before I turn it over to the council to swear in the witness, I'm going to recognize Councilmember Aviles, who's going to walk us through both of her good bills, and then we'll proceed with swearing in the panel. I proudly recognize my colleague, Councilmember Aviles.
Thank you so much, Chair. And thank you for holding this important hearing today. And thank you to all the advocates who have come out to help us think through how to best craft the indirect source rule that is being considered here today, and everyone who is participating in this important hearing. As many of you may know in the room, you've heard me say before, the communities that I represent have suffered from an inundation of last mile e-distribution facilities, all generating an enormous amount of truck traffic, all within a very small geographic zone. For years, I've sought to bring regulation to this industry so that we might improve health outcomes for our environmental justice community, but not only for those community members, but also for the workers that support these facilities. But in that search, we have been met with many jurisdictional challenges. I can't express to you how delighted I am to be here today, finally, to be able to discuss a viable policy model for local municipalities like ours, which has been successfully tested out in California. Through the indirect source rule, we will be able to ask a logistics center operator to choose from a menu of mitigation options that will help us improve quality, air quality, and thereby community health. While what we are discussing here today is only a broad framework, I look forward to the development of a more robust version of this legislation in the coming months, having been formulated by all of our comments and testimony here today. So I just want to thank again everyone for being part of this process to get us to this particular moment. Something that is important about this indirect source rule policy is really it is a moment where I can tell my community we are actually looking at mitigation efforts. And we have tried all manners of ways to figure out how to bring some relief to a community that not only is dealing with the proliferation of these distribution facilities, but that has a long history of hosting many environmental burden facilities that other communities would not want. And because they are well-resourced and wealthier, they often were able to push off those facilities into poor Black and brown communities. So it is just really important that we are finally getting potentially a tool that will ask operators, this is not about a moratorium, but it's asking operators to claim responsibility for what they are doing and to do better, and to do that all throughout their operations, not just plant one tree and walk away, but to really claim what is happening with fullness so we can have an honest conversation about implications, both in our economy and our health and wellness. And so finally, I also want to mention Intro 107. While I know this legislation had a hearing in the past and the administration has expressed concerns around resource constraints, I look forward to hearing from the administration today what a more workable solution might be for us to attain the air quality monitoring we need in environmental justice community. Residents and policymakers need to have access to more nuanced data than what is currently available so that we can better understand the future of the regulatory measures that might be necessary for us to continue to improve community health. And so again, a lot of gratitude here because it takes enormous amount of work. Thank you to the administration for their efforts and to my colleagues and to all of you for participating. It's a critical issue. All New Yorkers deserve clean air, and that's what we're fighting for. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilman. I appreciate your efforts to bring these bills forward, your great advocacy, regarding clean air in the community that you represent and the city at large. And thank you for recognizing all of the good advocates who give their time and talent, to make sure that concerns are heard. This is a lot of how the council works. It's the advocacy community that really drives a lot of the work that we do. And coming here today, fitting into our little shoebox of a hearing chamber, we really appreciate your presence today, and we look forward to your good testimony later. I have in my hand remarks from a council member who couldn't be here, but very concerned about this issue, Councilmember Brooks Powers. She is the minority whip. She wanted me to read her statement into the record, which I'll do now. So this is as if she's saying it, even though I'm referencing myself. So I'm going to do it in my own voice. I'm not going to imitate her voice. And so that would be a neat trick. Good morning, and thank you, Chair Gennaro, for convening today's hearing. As we discuss air quality and last-mile deliveries today, we must recognize the significant environmental and public health challenges posed by increased truck traffic in our communities, particularly in Southeast Queens. The council member represents Southeast Queens. Communities like mine bear a disproportionate burden of pollution from the growing network of warehouses, air cargo freight facilities, and transportation hubs near JFK Airport, which she does represent. The indirect source rule is a critical step in regulating facilities that attract high levels of vehicle activity and contribute to harmful emissions. However, it's essential that we get this right. She wrote that in bold print. It's essential that we get this right. Making sure that facilities like air cargo freight operations are included under the scope of the indirect source rule is vital for communities heavily impacted by truck activity. I look forward to hearing from the administration, and I want to thank my colleague, Councilmember Aviles, for her leadership on this issue. There are questions that are associated with her statement that'll either get folded into the questions that we ask of the administration, or we may just give them to the administration to provide, detailed answers to the minority, to the majority whip's questions. And with that, I think we're up to the, and I know I was supposed to get kind of a special copy of the commissioner's statement. Do I have that? They went out of their way to make a special. No. I need the large font.
Here you are.
Okay, great. Okay. All right. Okay, I think, we're going to do the affirmation, the swearing in, and whatever it's called.
Good morning. Please raise your right hand. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth before this committee and to respond honestly to council member questions? Thank you. You may begin when you're ready, and please state your name and title for the record.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair Gennaro. Good morning, Councilmember Aviles. Good morning. I guess no other members at the moment, but all of you in spirit. I am Rit Agarwal, Commissioner of the New York City Department of Environmental Protection and Chief Climate Officer for the City of New York. I'm joined today by Julie Lubin, the Deputy Commissioner of Environmental Compliance at DEP. The bureau she oversees does the agency's air, noise, and asbestos work. And I'm also joined by Dawn Miller, my senior advisor, who has done a tremendous amount of work over a couple of years now on what has led to the indirect source rule.
And that's Dawn to your right, right?
That's right.
Okay.
Dawn Miller. I'm also joined by another colleague, Carrie Olson, from the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene, which is our partner on air quality in so many ways. And by your leave, Council Member, with your approval, I know we have some slides up, and I'm grateful for that. I'll
Sure.
be able to share with you all some of the exhibits from my testimony. And what I'm reading from is an abridged version. We're submitting a more comprehensive set of statements into the record.
Great, thank you.
I'm pleased to have the opportunity to testify on legislation that relates to the delivery of one of our Plan YC initiatives to get polluting trucks off our streets, especially in low-income neighborhoods that have become the epicenter of the boom in warehouse operations over the last decade. I'm also pleased that this is a great example of partnership between the administration and the council. The indirect source rule that would be authorized by Intro 1130 was a commitment made last May by First Deputy Mayor Maria Torres Springer in a letter to Speaker Adrian Adams as part of the City of Yes for Economic Opportunity. New York City has made tremendous progress improving air quality. We know this because we have one of the most robust air quality monitoring systems in the country, the New York City Community Air Survey, which has been managed by the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene since 2008. NICAS uses a network of 85 air quality monitors across the city to measure key air quality indicators, providing neighborhood-specific data tracking neighborhood-level differences and changes over time in air quality within the 5 boroughs. NICAS generates estimates for 5 pollutants: fine particulate matter, or PM2.5, black carbon, nitric oxide and nitrogen dioxide, ozone, and sulfur dioxide. This data allows us to identify the most impactful pollution contributors in each area, report annually on criteria pollutant levels, and create publicly available data to support programs, policy development, community awareness, and research. We know that the 3 major emission sources, and by the way, this is a map of where the NICAS monitors currently are, and I'd ask for the next slide, please. We know from NICAS that the three major emission sources driving local air quality levels and differences by neighborhoods are commercial cooking, buildings, and traffic. This information shows us which communities bear the greatest burden of air quality-related health impacts and what interventions would be most impactful. The improvements in New York City's air quality have been driven largely by changes in vehicle and building fuels, mandated by federal and local legislation. Over the past 20 years...
Red, hang on, I just lost my place. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, go ahead. Thank
Over
you.
the past 20 years, we've seen a 60% decline in PM 2.5, a 40% decline in NO2, or nitrogen dioxide, and as a result, we've seen a 50% reduction in asthma-related emergency room visits in New York City attributable to pollution. These were driven by several initiatives, including federal requirements for cleaner diesel fuel. Here in New York City, the City Council, with your personal leadership, Chairman, enabled DEP to ban dirty heating oil. And then in 2015, the City Council required that DEP take action on what is now the largest local source of particulate matter, which is commercial cooking. Pursuant to that legislation, our rules on cook stoves took effect last year, and our rules on charbroilers had a hearing last month. While we have seen citywide improvements, these have not been evenly distributed. In fact, the negative health impacts of air pollution are now even more concentrated in low-income neighborhoods than they were before. Air pollution from traffic alone contributes to an estimated 320 premature deaths and 870 emergency department visits and hospitalizations each year in New York City. These are concentrated in neighborhoods such as the South Bronx, Harlem, the North Shore, East New York, and Brownsville. The reality of pre-existing health conditions and reduced access to health care make air pollution a much greater threat in these neighborhoods compared to wealthier parts of the city. Based on NICAS data, the health department has found that the density of warehouses, a stronger indicator of freight industrial use that generates truck traffic, explains the difference in pollution levels between neighborhoods much more clearly than industrial zoning generally. Areas with a higher density of warehouses, such as Newtown Creek in Queens, near JFK, Sunset Park in Brooklyn, and Hunts Point in the Bronx, have higher levels of truck-related air pollution. To be clear, freight is not the enemy. We need to move goods. We just need to move them smarter. 90% of New York City's goods move by truck, a far higher number than the national average of 70%. More than 80% of New Yorkers receive at least one package at home each week, and 18% of New Yorkers receive packages 4 or more times per week. By 2045, New York is expected to accommodate a 43% increase in freight. The city has been working to shift freight away from trucks and to make the trucks cleaner through a number of initiatives. The Clean Trucks program, administered by DOT and funded by the federal government, has funded more than 700 clean trucks, 672 of them replacements. Starting this March, NYCCTP will be using the remaining US EPA Volkswagen settlement funding to support zero-emission vehicles exclusively. DOT has been working to make it easier for delivery companies to adopt electric cargo bikes. New York City has the largest cargo bike program in the country, with more than 130,000 cargo bike trips each year. DOT is also promoting microhubs, which provide dedicated spaces for truck operators to transfer deliveries onto smaller, more sustainable modes of transportation, such as bikes and handcarts. The initial microhub pilot program will include up to 36 locations, with the first 5 locations launching this year on the Upper West Side, under the BQE in Clinton Hill, and in Greenpoint. DOT's off-hour deliveries program has over 1,000 locations participating, and DOT recently launched a $6 million incentive program to provide small businesses with tools and technologies to allow for overnight deliveries. The program aims to add 5,000 off-hour delivery locations by 2040, shifting 62,000 trucks away from peak hours. New York City EDC and DOT continue to work on a Blue Highways program to reactivate marine infrastructure, helping to shift deliveries from larger trucks to our waterways. Today, only 8% of our freight moves by water. The city is working with the private sector through the Blue Highway RFEI to identify opportunities to reactivate waterways, including pilots to test how we can use our existing passenger ferry network and infrastructure to move goods up and down the East and Hudson rivers. The city and its partners in the federal and state governments are investing $368 million to modernize and electrify the Brooklyn Marine Terminal, reimagining the 122-acre site as a key node in our Blue Highway network. We are also looking to shift more freight to rail. New York City's network of more than 90 miles of freight lines and 9 rail yards are assets with significant...
Rita, I have to hold up again. I just want to make, because the version I have is a little different than the version you have.
Sorry?
No, isn't it here? 90 miles, right? New York City Rail Freight Networks includes over 90 miles. That's who we are, right? Okay, all right. All right, please continue.
However, the efforts to shift back towards rail face challenges. The trend, in fact, has been away from rail and towards trucks over the past several decades. In 1972, Brooklyn and Queens moved 73,000 carloads per year, but in 2017 it was just 17,000 carloads. The city, however, is leading by example. The Department of Sanitation is actually the biggest user of rail freight in New York City today, using it to export waste by rail. The city owns 3 freight rail facilities: the Brooklyn Waterfront Rail System in Sunset Park, the Staten Island Railway right-of-way to the north and west shore of Staten Island, and the rail facility in Hunts Point Food Market. To support businesses' use of freight rail, the city is continuing to invest in our rail terminals at the 65th Street Rail Yard, the First Avenue Rail Yard, and the Arthur Kill Lift Bridge. The Lift Bridge, which is part of the Staten Island Railroad, was recently awarded a $17 million Federal Railroad Administration grant for capital upgrades. Finally, as you know, I hope the Council acts on Intro 941, which will improve the citizen anti-idling program and make it far more effective and more impactful in low-income neighborhoods where citizen enforcers have tended not to go. I'm grateful for our discussions since that bill was heard last year, and I hope a revised bill can be enacted soon, along with a bill to increase fines. Could I have the next slide, please? While trucks, trains, ferries, and bikes are modes that don't pollute, or that do and don't pollute, the patterns of freight movement in New York City are significantly shaped by the location and facilities of the city's large warehouses. New York City has more than 8,000 warehouses. Most are relatively small. 6,800, or about 85%, are under 25,000 square feet. A subset are large. About 500 warehouses are over 50,000 square feet. While just 6% of the total number of warehouses, these large warehouses comprise more than 40% of total warehouse space. Many of these are recent. In the past 10 years, 35 warehouses and distribution centers greater than 75,000 square feet were either newly constructed or completely renovated in New York City. New York City's largest warehouse operators range from parcel delivery companies like FedEx and UPS to direct-to-consumer companies like Amazon, IKEA, and FreshDirect, and also include large suppliers to retailers like Pepsi-Cola, Restaurant Depot, Manhattan Beer, and Coca-Cola. Could I have the next slide, please? The biggest concentrations of large warehouses are in Red Hook and Sunset Park in Brooklyn, Maspeth and Long Island City in Queens, and in the South Bronx. Red Hook has 9 warehouses over 100,000 square feet. Sunset Park has 10. Maspeth has 20, and the South Bronx 13. We do not currently have data on how many truck trips each of these generates, but based on national averages, these may produce more than 12,000 trips per year per warehouse, and likely more. Next slide, please. The largest heavy-duty trucks are only about 4% of truck traffic. However, these are some of the most polluting vehicles, and their traffic concentrates near some of our most vulnerable neighborhoods. 96% of trucks driving around New York City are medium-duty. These trucks offer the potential for near-term electrification because electric versions are available, and these trucks can complete their daily runs and charge overnight if warehouses and fleet bases provide the charging they need. Next slide, please. And we have some examples of this already taking place. In fact, the Frito-Lay warehouse in Ridgewood, Queens is a great example of a New York City operation that is leading the way in electrifying its fleets using a combination of level 2 chargers and fast charging for their medium-duty trucks, as shown here. New York City's warehouse industry is diverse in terms of operating arrangements. While some warehousers own their buildings, many operators lease. Some producers operate their own fleets, and others outsource to third-party logistics providers like C.H. Robinson, J.B. Hunt, and Ryder. Some of the largest companies, like FedEx and UPS, control most aspects of their supply chain. This is important because it means a one-size-fits-all policy would be difficult to effectively design. A policy that gives operators choice for how to reduce their pollution is most likely to yield the best results. Understanding these factors is important for designing an indirect source rule, because they help us project how the warehousing industry might respond to increasing regulation. Different warehouses with different ownership models, traffic patterns, and performance standards will have different opportunities to become less polluting. A warehouse indirect source rule is a strong policy tool the city can use to address air pollution from freight movement. It's neatly at the intersection of the long-standing need to green our freight industry and the more recent growth and recognition of the acute impacts in neighborhoods with concentrations of warehouses. An indirect source rule is just that, a rule that regulates the indirect air pollution related to a facility. The direct air pollution from a warehouse might come from the building's heating system. DEP already regulates those. The indirect air pollution from a warehouse comes from the vans and trucks that are attracted to the facility, and therefore the warehouse is indirectly generating the pollution leaving these trucks' tailpipes. Currently, DEP does not have a mandate to regulate indirect sources. The most significant indirect source rule in place today is Southern California's 2021 Warehouse Indirect Source Rule. An important element of an indirect source rule is that it could apply to both new and existing large warehouses. There is also a separate but related proposal that the Department of City Planning is advancing, a last-mile facility zoning special permit. That special permit would focus on the siting and opening of new last-mile warehouses. In contrast, the indirect source rule proposal could be broader in scope, impacting existing and future large warehouses and the pollution they create each year. We envision a warehouse indirect source rule in which the city's largest warehouses are required to earn a number of points each year that is proportionate to the number of vehicle trips made to their warehouse. Trips made in heavy-duty trucks, which pollute the most, would be weighted more heavily than trips made in smaller vehicles. But all motor vehicles making deliveries would count towards a warehouse's compliance obligation. Large warehouse operators would have a menu of options they could mix and match to meet their compliance obligation. This would include points for both acquiring and using zero-emission and near-zero-emission vehicles, cargo bikes, and EV chargers. It would also include menu items beyond delivery fleet conversion. This could include installing anti-idling technology in existing vehicles, electrifying yard trucks or forklifts, or investments in tree preservation or planting. It would also provide a powerful incentive to adopt rail, marine, or bike freight alternatives to trucking. As I've said, an indirect source rule need not apply to all warehouses to be effective. New York City's 500 largest warehouses account for more than 40% of total warehouse space. As we see it, the rules should apply to large warehouses, which generate the most pollution and likely have the greatest capacity to make investments to reduce their pollution. Facilities that are primarily doing manufacturing should not be subject to these rules. We can design the policy to have a large enough impact that we see air quality improvements without including small operators or New York City manufacturing. A diverse points menu is important to providing the diverse set of warehouse operators with options that work for them, whether they own and operate their own fleets or outsource that function to third parties. It also reflects the fact that some investments take time and planning, so a warehouse owner might choose certain compliance options in early years as it plans for the long term. We also see a lot of promise in the concept of a custom plan, which would incorporate the potential to incentivize things like marine and rail investments and allow owners to make use of new technology or support other key initiatives such as micro-hub development, off-hour deliveries, or EV fleet resilience. Now, turning to the specific bills up for a hearing today, I'll start with Intro 1130, which would direct DEP to promulgate an indirect source rule. We're grateful to Council Members Aviles, Brooks Powers, and other co-sponsors for introducing this legislation, and to you, Mr. Chair, for calling this hearing. As you can tell from my testimony, we are strongly supportive of creating a warehouse indirect source rule and look forward to working with Council on language. One area we'd like to discuss is the definition of a warehouse. We share the goal of focusing on large warehouse operators. The language in the draft in the bill seems to be identifying a smaller universe of warehouse operators than we had envisioned the policy would apply to. Of the 512 warehouses we identified that are greater than 50,000 square feet, only 80 are distribution centers. A rule limited to distribution centers would likely be significantly less impactful than a rule addressing a larger universe of large warehouses. We would like to work together to find a warehouse definition that includes all operations whose truck traffic is significantly impacting air quality while not including small operators. I'll also note that this legislation must go through the formal environmental review process, or SEQR, before it can be brought to a vote. SEQR is the process by which city agencies determine what effect, if any, a discretionary action they approve may have on the environment. SEQR considers a variety of technical areas, including socioeconomic conditions, public health, transportation, energy, and air quality. The public is invited to provide input in this process, and findings from this analysis are shared with the public. DEP has been funded just under $2.2 million for a SEQR review of this policy and is preparing to begin that process in the coming months. The process typically takes a year, so we will expect it will be completed in 2026. We look forward to working with you on council and stakeholder participation in that process. Intro 107 would require specific air monitoring on heavy-use thoroughfares. While we appreciate this bill's focus on traffic pollution, we believe it would mandate a set of investments that would not achieve what we think the bill's intention is of reducing air pollution. Intro 107 would require significant and costly air monitoring on almost all city streets. 97% of New York City streets meet the 100,000 annual vehicle threshold. We strongly believe that we do not need an additional data collection system. We have the information we need to create data-informed policies. The NICAS system is the largest ongoing urban air quality monitoring program of any U.S. city and has provided us with rich data. NICAS data has been the basis for major policy initiatives already. Recently, in addition, and could I have the next slide, please? DEC has launched a statewide community air monitoring initiative that has collected street-level pollution data from 10 disadvantaged communities around the state. 4 of these are in New York City in sections of Brooklyn, the Bronx, Manhattan, and Queens. DEC collected this street-level data for a year and are now using it to develop air pollution mitigation strategies. They expect to issue a final report of recommended strategies later this year, and we look forward to the results of this initiative. Finally, the indirect source rule itself, as contemplated in Intro 1130, would require warehouses to track the number and type of trucks that come into their warehouses every day. With that count, we can accurately determine the amount of pollution that trucking activities introduce to a given area. At this point, allocating resources toward effective implementation of policies like the indirect source rule and other pollution reduction strategies we think would be more protective of New Yorkers than further data collection. And we'd like to work with the sponsor and council member. I appreciate your openness and willingness to continue discussing this with that priority in mind. In closing, I want to reiterate my and my colleagues' thanks to the committee for your attention to this issue and for the opportunity to testify about these today, and I look forward to your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. I appreciate your comprehensive statement. We're been joined by Councilmember Holden. Always a pleasure to be with him. And as is my custom, I'm going to take a little walk through your. I have some prepared questions. I wanted to take a look through your statement, and some questions have popped up. Well, let me just, before I made a little. Oh, you see? What? We have Councilman Ressler, who has joined us via Zoom. We're always pleased to be with Councilman Ressler. Thank him for participating remotely. Just talking about the one of the last things you mentioned was the SEQA review. Takes a year. Got $2 million already in the pipeline for that, or whatever. Now, when one does the SEQA analysis, wouldn't one need as an input, like what the council and DEP are jointly going to do? I'm trying to figure out how the SEQA analysis can sort of proceed in the abstract without like the details of what the indirect source rule is really going to be. I mean, there were big differences between what we have in the bill and what we may envision once we hear the testimony. We already know that DEP has big eyes when it comes to the universe. I can't see you without my glasses. I still can't see you. Okay, it's a long story, the bill has a certain universe, like the universe that DEP envisions would be much bigger. Wouldn't we need all that tied up in a bow before we did the SEQA analysis, or how does that work?
I think for major legislation like this that has significant environmental impact, it's pretty standard for these two things to proceed in parallel. They can't be wildly divergent.
Right.
And it is really important. It's actually one of the things that makes it so important that we're having this hearing and starting this conversation so that we have a shared understanding, so that we can understand kind of what the range of options you're thinking about would be, the range of options we're thinking about, and we can plug that kind of spectrum into the SEQA review. I'm happy to invite Deputy Commissioner Lubin, whose office will be driving it to.
Sure, please. Thank you for being here, and please state your name for the record before you
Julie
commence
Lubin.
your statement.
Thank you. Yeah. So that's what we would be doing, what the commissioner just described. We would be analyzing a sort of broader version of the program so that wherever we land will be within the scope that we analyzed. And we can do sort of, version A, version B.
Oh,
we can
so
work
it's kind of
out-
like a Big Tent review.
Yeah, and whatever we decide on would be within that big tent, right?
Okay, thank you for that. And you made reference in your statement, Commissioner, that 90% of the city's goods move via truck, higher than the national average of 70, and in the same paragraph, by 2045, New York is going to have a 43% increase in freight, 430 million tons, up from 300 million today. That's a lot, and this kind of two transportation, there's kind of two freight things going on. There's the last mile and everything involved with, with real, detailed process of what goes on at these fulfillment centers versus trucks that are just transversing the city. Maybe they're coming from Pennsylvania or wherever, and their destination is Suffolk County. So all of that would be included in the figure that you cite here. Would that be accurate? And so I think one of the things that we have to parse, and you know that I have an interest in this, is to sort of how to figure out a way, as you made good reference to, by increase our marine transport as well as rail freight. I know that I don't know if you mentioned it in your statement or not, but they made reference to it, the staff did, in the briefing paper, in the very detailed briefing paper that they prepared for this hearing. There was a study that was called Delivering Green from 2021, and that was about, DOT and EDC and upgrading old rail spurs and, doing what they can to, create the intermodal reality that would, increase, rail freight that is just moving through New York City. And you prepare and you mentioned some of that in your statement. I'm just wondering if you're willing to go a little further. You mentioned 65th Street and other things, but if you could expand upon that a little bit, that'd be helpful.
Let me just say,
Because I'm drawing the distinction, between someone like Councilmember Avila's, who is, has a lot of this going on right outside her front door, and, Sylvina Brooks Powers and other council members, who see the network of little trucks going all over the place and queuing and everything else. And, the issue of just figuring out how we, deal with rate that is just traversing New York City. It's not going to land here. It's not going to go here. It's just passing through. And, to the extent that we can use rail and or barge or what, God bless you. So that's what I'm getting at, how we, because I think we got a good handle, on the last mile. I think we're well on our way on that one. But I'd like to, also focus some energy, perhaps in future legislation or future cooperation, on how we can incentivize, rail and water to play a larger role, even though it goes beyond your own particular purview. But, as DEP commissioner, but as chief climate officer, that's where I can get you, And so, what do you think about that?
well, certainly. Let me. I'll ask my colleague Dawn Miller to speak in greater detail about.
And I also know that the administration has been jumping through hoops to try to give me a personal, briefing on this. Between having flu type A, if you got to choose a flu, don't choose type A. I've been there, done that. Go for B, or just don't congregate in rooms like this with other people. The flu does not get nearly the respect it deserves. So, I've been sort of out of action, and I'd like to thank the administration for being very assiduous. I'm like, oh, I can't do it. Well, how about tomorrow? So I appreciate the, the zeal with which the administration wants to bring to the table. But, just a couple of nuggets of information on that in front of those assembled here and watching on the live stream, the millions who are watching on the live stream right now. It's all yours, Commissioner.
All right, thank you. And as I said, I'll ask Dawn to say a bit more specifically about delivering green. I think there really, you mentioned two types of freight, and I think we really have to think about three types of freight. Right?
Good.
There is
four,
freight
let's go
that
for it.
transits the city.
Right.
Right, particularly serving Long Island and what goes from the bulk of the United States into New England, some of which crosses the George Washington Bridge and the Bronx.
Right, because after all, I mean,
There's some of that.
we think about Nassau and Suffolk County as backwaters or whatever, but it's more than 3 million people live there.
It is.
So
it's still less than us. So
Yeah.
so it stands to reason that actually, though, a greater percentage of the, say, 18-wheeler type traffic
Right.
that's in New York City is actually bringing the goods to those distribution and other warehouses that are in New York City, right? And one of the reasons
I mean,
those are primarily trucks.
I don't know. I know that some are passing through the city,
Oh,
others are going, and I'm sure have a better handle on this than I do.
And one of the issues there is that many of the distribution centers that we have don't have the direct rail access, or the access to them by rail is highly circuitous. You know, much of our freight actually stops in Pennsylvania or New Jersey, where in some cases it gets off a train and gets put on that 18-wheeler to come to Brooklyn or Queens or what have you. Right. And that's the second. And then, as you point out, the third is the last mile delivery that's been broken up. The reality is the first one is more difficult for us to tackle, right? The through traffic really is about the overall economics of the rail freight industry and the facilities that are in other places that we don't control, whether it's out on Long Island or elsewhere. And as I said earlier, I think one of the biggest tools we have to encourage a shift to rail freight is something like the indirect source rule. Because if that warehouse has to think about the total environmental impact of both what it's bringing in and what it's sending out, then it will be forced to take seriously what it can do to make something like rail deliveries work. So that would be my argument, again, for
Right.
why I think the kind of tool we have in ISR is so important. It is the push that we need because the pull is difficult.
I certainly would agree that, when it comes to, goods that end up in New York City, I think rail would, has difficulties. But that percentage, whatever it is, that is passing through New York City, I think that's an opportunity for rail, and I do know a little bit about that. And I don't know what percentage of the pie chart, would be, 18-wheeler trucks just going through New York City. I don't know if anybody has a handle on that. They're like, do we have a handle on that? Like, do we know
I'm
what that
sure
is?
it's knowable. I do not know it off the top of my head.
Right. Yeah, because I think that's something that we can get at through a more robust attention to what we can do to induce rail freight. But I certainly admit that when it comes to, going all over the city in these various localities, I don't really, it's certainly more of a challenge for rail to do that, certainly. Hence the indirect source rule and everything else that we want to do. And so, did you want to talk? Did you want to bring on Dawn for this?
I think there's, I mentioned a number of things in my testimony where we are doing work, and I think if it's okay with you, let's get the briefing directly with you, and we can talk about what more might be done on rail.
Okay. I appreciate that. And okay, we just spoke about that. Now the prepared questions I have, this I'm just kind of going through, so. Yeah, I highlighted a bunch of stuff about rail that we'll take up separately. Let's watch the chairman flip pages. Just want to make sure I didn't miss anything. Oh, this was the secret thing. I mentioned that. Now, in your statement, right, the bill envisions 512 warehouses, and you have a bigger vision for that. Could you just kind of go over that again?
Well, actually, and Dawn, please tell me if I'm getting this wrong. Actually, the bill, the way we interpret the bill, we think it would cover 80 distribution centers, whereas we think there are 512
Oh, okay, I'm
total
sorry. Yep,
warehouses of a size that we think would be appropriate to cover.
Right.
And it is that distinction. A distribution center is one type of warehouse,
Right.
but it is not the only kind of facility that is receiving and sending out large volumes of trucks.
Okay. All right. Now to some prepared questions from staff. A lot of these questions were covered in your statement. Here's one. We'll try this. The New York, New Jersey, and Long Island region is in serious non-attainment. I think the term is probably severe non-attainment for ozone pollution, which means that ozone concentrations are between 33 and 50% higher than recommended levels. Data from the New York City Community Air Survey shows that ozone levels in the city were higher in 2023 than any other year since 2009, likely increase in the coming years. What is DEP doing, DEP or anyone, doing to help bring the region into attainment? How does DEP coordinate with other environmental agencies within the relevant air quality control district to do this work? That is to come into compliance. How about that?
Okay. So it is true that ozone is kind of the anomaly, that while on most other key pollutants, New York City has done extraordinarily well. Ozone recently has had an uptick. This is actually true across the United States.
Yeah, because
basically
this would
everywhere.
be a climate thing because it involves heat.
That's right. So 2023 across the United States showed an increase in ozone across the board. So this was not just a New York City thing. As you just pointed out, ozone is a little bit unusual because it's not actually emitted from the tailpipe or
Right.
from the smokestack. It is a chemical that forms in the air in the presence of heat and sunlight. And so one of the key things that's happened is that as our summers get hotter, there is a greater proclivity to form ozone, and that's one of the key drivers. We also, in 2023, had the Canadian wildfires, which had a massive continent-wide
I hated those.
impact. Yeah,
I hated those.
Yeah, we all did, especially the Canadians, I think. But and then there is an anomalous thing that across the board, and this is true outside of New York as well, that it actually tends to be places with less traffic that have higher concentrations of ozone, because even though nitrogen dioxide is a precursor to
Right.
ozone, it's an unstable compound, so it absorbs ozone. So oddly enough, as we've brought down some of these other criteria pollutants, we've actually made it so there is a greater likelihood that ozone will linger. And finally, ozone is primarily a regional issue. It travels great distances, and therefore much of the ozone in New York City is probably coming from elsewhere in the United States. So ozone is a tougher nut to crack than
Right.
many of the other things that we look at, like particulate matter, where we have a much greater opportunity to address it locally. I think, the reality is we believe that much of what we need to do to continue to drive down ozone is the work that we've been doing to drive down some of these other precursors. That despite that anomaly,
Right.
it is still the right answer to focus on reducing nitrogen dioxide, cleaning up our buildings like through Local 197 and other efforts, congestion pricing, which will have had, I'm sure, a big impact on criteria pollutants in the city, and we'll see that in a year or so. And so we don't have a different strategy because of the change in ozone, but I think we're keenly aware of the fact that climate change is making ozone a greater threat.
Thank you. Thank you. I don't recall whether this was addressed in your statement or not. I'm finding that most of the questions prepared by staff you seem to have addressed in your statement, which is great. The 2023 Plan YC report states that the city aims to develop a new air quality monitoring program by 2024. So the question is, what is the status of the program, and to what extent has DEP been involved in the process of developing such program?
Council member, I will have to, unless, Corey, do you have anything on that? No. One of the things that since that, as I mentioned, DEC, after Plan YC came out,
Right.
DEC undertook its ACLIMA project. And I think given what they were doing, we stepped back from that, so
Okay.
we don't really have much to report on that.
Fair enough. I'm easy sometimes. Yeah, a lot of this stuff is going to be covered in the briefing that I'm going to get. And so we just confer with council for a second. For now, that will do it for me. There are other members that have questions. I'm happy to recognize Councilmember Holden for questions.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you, Commissioner. I'm sorry I missed part of your, I have your notes, though, but I was at a high school and it ran overtime on a tour. But this is a very important issue since I represent Maspeth, which is has a lot of warehouses, a lot of trucks, and we never seem to get anywhere with addressing the 53-foot trailers, tractor trailers, which are illegal in New York City. But, you know, talking to police commissioners through the years, for decades, we can't seem to get that enforced, that law enforced, where they're prohibited from, unless by special permit, which they don't have, by the way. And the drivers are not even trained. Many of the drivers we found weren't trained to drive these 53-footers. But of course, the almighty dollar dictates that the companies are going to have these drivers, you know, drive these trucks. And the weird thing about Maspeth is it's a waterfront, mostly waterfront. We could use barges, like the chair said. We don't use our waterways enough in New York City. So. And then when the 53-footers come into Maspeth, they don't fit in some of the bays, and it takes them forever to maneuver into the bays. And then when they do get in, they stick out and block traffic in the street. So it's a never-ending cycle here that the city doesn't seem to want to address at all in enforcement, in requirement, And in just, regulating these companies that are causing additional pollution, because, it's what the 53-footers do on streets, very narrow streets, and we have a lot of those in Maspeth that weren't designed for the 53-foot trailers, and then the extended cab that these trucks have, where there's almost like a room in the back behind the driver. So if you look at the sheer length of these, there's a reason why they're illegal in New York City, these 53-footers, but nobody seems, and I can't get anybody who addresses. Now you wear two hats, obviously. With the climate czar, I think that could be addressed. But I think what incentives, what ideas do you have to try to get the industry to change over to barge? I tried to do that with sanitation, barging some more waste out of New York City rather than by rail. But just on those topics, enforcing the 53-foot trucks, I think that would go a long way. But if you look at Grand Avenue, by the way, which is my district, and it's not a truck route, but if you look, many of the bays in West Maspeth block that traffic, and it just extends into the entire neighborhood. So question one is, how do we get, and this was the chair's, some of the chair's question, how do we get more barges to feed areas that are waterfront property? It's a tremendous waste. And then even the waste management facility, by the way, in West Maspeth is waterfront, but they don't use it. So what incentives could we do? And maybe you can help with that, but then also on enforcement.
Councilmember, look, I appreciate your concern about the 53-footers. I have to say that even as Chief Climate Officer, I don't do truck enforcement, so I'll have to defer to my colleagues at NYPD and others. I will say, knowing that DEP also has our air and noise inspectors, there are types of violations that are just very difficult to enforce because they are widespread, and particularly when they are moving vehicles. So I'm happy to take back a question and see if my colleagues at NYPD can give you a sense. I don't know if you've spoken to NYPD on this topic under its newest leadership, which is, of course, very aggressive. So maybe Commissioner Tisch will be interested in this one.
Well, it's the first time that I heard a commissioner tell, and this was going back to Commissioner Bratton, it's the first time I ever heard a police commissioner say he didn't have enough personnel to enforce it. And that's been the lingering, and subsequent to that, I've asked other commissioners. I haven't asked the current commissioner, and I plan to meet with her soon. But I think that comes under your purview, though, because they are tremendous polluters.
Well,
It's the air. It's the air quality, and they cause. So I think any pressure that you can put on and say, look, this is causing tremendous pollution. Maspeth is polluted. We have a high asthma rate. But just if you could address the waterway issues, which I think also falls under.
Well, Councilmember, look, I think this administration has been very outspoken and very aggressive about how marine transport is a big opportunity in New York City. And both Andrew Kimball and Deputy Mayor Joshi and Maria Torres Springer, through the Blue Highways plan and the effort to get private industry to update the marine facilities that we have and where EDC is relevant to do so through the city, I think has been a top priority for us. So I think we are doing a great deal. As I've said already, I think the indirect source rule is one of the key things that we can bring to bear, because one of the challenges is, you can lead a horse to water, as they say, but you can't make them drink. And so we can make all of these facilities available. But if there is no push to get these large facilities to be open to new approaches, then it is less likely that they will embrace them. And I think what is so important about the indirect source rule is it will push the demand to come from these facilities, and they are the ones who are going to have to make the decisions. And then finally, I will tell, DEP itself, as you know, we have a fleet of sludge boats, so we are big believers in the use of water transportation around the city. And I would imagine that there is a conversation to be had with the Department of Sanitation as we move towards the next solid waste management plan, which is only, I think, 2 years away, because it was, of course, the first solid waste management plan 20 years ago that put in place the rail and barge system that we currently have and started the big shift away from moving garbage by truck. And I'm sure there is an opportunity in the next one to think about it even more so.
Thank you, Chair.
I just want to follow up with Councilmember Holden. Wouldn't DOT be an entity that might have some ability to weigh in on the 53-foot? I mean, I don't know the extent to which. I mean, they have an enforcement apparatus. These are transportation vehicles, and have you tried?
I've tried. This
DOT?
is 30 years of working on this, and always a dead end. Always a dead end because the industry seems to dictate. Because it's economical. It's like we can't. 53 footers are illegal in New York City, but we have to move the most goods the best way we know how, and we can't change for New York City. We won't change for New York City. So it needs legislation.
Well,
but
maybe it
enforcement
doesn't because we already have the legislation.
We have the legislation, but
these are illegal.
But again, there's got to be incentives for the industry to change to waterways, and also to get away from the 53 footers. And unless we get electric 53 footers.
Yeah, but I think for now I'm just making a note to counsel to the committee and my own legislative director. I mean, we should talk to the transportation chair.
We have, and the answer is well, it's NYPD to enforce, and then NYPD says, well, it's up, we don't have the personnel to enforce this, and then back to DOT, and so we this is how we go around in circles. So,
Okay.
But I'm looking at the commissioner of DEP just because it affects air quality, and it affects.
Yeah,
I would like all the agencies to get together because it just can't. It should be a task force, but why hasn't it been addressed? Even when I have truck weigh stations come in, and I do coordinate with state DOT in Maspeth because this is a big problem in Maspeth. The air pollution, we have the LIE running through our neighborhood.
Right.
So we have a lot of truck traffic. And when you have 53 footers compounding the problem, we go around in circles.
Yeah, it just drives me nuts when you have something that's blatantly illegal, and entities just indicating that we're just going to let it go. I mean,
Well, I dare say, when I talk to the precinct COs, they don't even know the law. They don't even know that it exists because it's so widespread that
it's not going to be like in the patrol guide. I mean, this has to be, and to the extent that you have a committee or like a commission and have multiple agencies, that just means like no one's in charge.
Right.
I would, I would just like to hang this on DOT and have them figure it out. But you've already gone that way. All right.
Multiple times.
I don't want to belabor it here, but, Josh, it's just like, let's put a pin in this and talk about that because it's just, if we have these huge tractor trailers that I didn't make them illegal, but, they are illegal. And if they're illegal for a reason, they're causing a lot of problems around the city. Why are we just putting up with it? So I don't want to belabor that, but Josh, we should talk about this offline. And sure. I'm happy to recognize Councilmember Aviles for questions.
Thank you, Chair. Unlike the chair, I'm going to probably ask you questions that are embedded in your testimony that is very thorough, but for the record, just to pull them out, because not everybody has access to that. very thorough testimony. So can you explain how the last mile facilities differ from traditional warehouses?
Actually, Dawn, would you? I'll ask Dawn Miller to take that.
Dawn, if you could please state your name for the record before you commence your statement.
Yes, I'm Dawn Miller. Yeah, and I'd say the biggest difference is that the last mile facilities are really focused on that final step of bringing the goods from that last mile distribution facility to the consumer, whereas a traditional warehouse might be storing goods for bringing them to a retailer or a wholesaler, so it's not just directly to consumer. There are differences in, I think one of the things that we've seen with the rise in e-commerce is more of those last mile facilities, because for them it is so valuable to be located very close to their customer base. So that's why we've seen them proliferating as e-commerce has proliferated. But as the commissioner mentioned in his testimony, all of them are generating polluting truck traffic. Or generating polluting truck traffic. So the way we see it, going to a little bigger universe would enable us to, basically have the biggest impact from this policy without even approaching small operators, because when we look at that whole warehouse universe, we could get at 40% of the warehouse space by regulating just 6% of the warehouses in the city. So by really targeting that group, we could make a very big impact.
So if you could explain a little bit, I don't think, unless you have seen these facilities, you live next to them, you actually don't have a real sense. You think a regular warehouse. Can you talk to us about the distinctions in size? What are we talking about in terms of like the size of these facilities?
And also, I just want to chime in for a second. When it comes to the clock, because you got two bills on or whatever, so don't worry about the
just
clock.
keep going?
You can just
Fantastic.
keep going. Yeah. Sergeant, you can
Sure.
you can stop the clock for Councilmember
And the
Vilas.
clock.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We could talk about this all day.
All day.
Yes, and I live in the Columbia Street waterfront district, so actually the warehouses in Red Hook are the ones that I see the most often. And I think as you're getting at, a lot of the last mile facilities are the largest. Some of them are multi-story, and multi-story warehouses was not something that we were seeing in the United States at all until a few years ago. And so we're seeing just an intensity of activity from those warehouses. The vast majority of warehouses in New York City are under 25,000 square feet. That's like about 6,800 of the 8,000 warehouses are under 25,000 square feet. But we have this 500 that are above 50,000 square feet, which I think someone described to me as the size of a football field. So it's really quite a large. It's really quite a large facility. So I think when we're talking about big, we are talking about really big, and we're seeing them in more and more places in the city, including in areas that are close to residential areas where those are where residents live near places that are zoned industrial, especially.
Yeah, thank you. And also in terms of hours of operation, do you find any distinctions with these facilities and maybe the more traditional?
That is not an area that we have studied, so I can't speak personally to that question, but what I have heard anecdotally from stakeholders is that the last mile facilities operate more hours of the day, often very early morning hours, as compared to traditional warehouses. And the thing about an indirect source rule that I think sort of makes it both effective and fair is that it scales with the volume of truck traffic associated with a warehouse. So it's not like every warehouse that's 50,000 square feet would have the same compliance obligation. If you're 50,000 square feet and you have tons and tons of trucks 24 hours a day, an indirect source rule would ask a lot more of you than of another 50,000 square foot facility that really has a small volume of trucks coming in and out. So it really scales with your truck volume as opposed to just straight up by your size.
Thank you. Is there an estimation of the number of trucks that are visiting and moving in and out of some of the identified last mile and e-commerce warehouses?
Well, I'll just say, I believe what we had in the testimony was an estimate of 18,000 truck trips per one of these large facilities. So 500 times 18,000, what's that, 9 million?
And I know you're aware, but just for the benefit of the whole group, there is a more comprehensive study of last mile facilities going on in Red Hook, where they're looking at that very question of the nature of the truck volume generated by last mile facilities, because a lot of the numbers that we have and that the commissioner shared are based on more national figures, and so we're trying to get information about first the special category that's last mile, but also what does it look like in New York City, where our theory is that many of our warehouses are used more intensively than they might be in other parts of the country because of the cost of our land and the value of pumping more goods through our warehouses.
Yeah, thank you. And to Councilmember Holden's point, I think one of my great frustrations has been that these facilities have all been sited on the waterfront and none contemplated, nor did the city provide any incentive or forward thinking about the use of the water. Rather, 100% built for encouraging truck traffic as the mode of transportation for the goods and services. So this rule is so important in getting us to understand also the real volume, because what we are seeing is several years ago, we saw the proliferation of the building of these massive facilities, and everyone saying, well, we're not sure how many cars and trucks are going to be there. And they were all being built to the same specs of a last mile distribution facility, and we could see that it was coming. So I'm just really heartened that we're looking at offering a tool that is going to be able to scale up and scale down accordingly. You mentioned a suggestion of being able to catch a broader universe of warehouses. Can you talk to me a little bit more about what distinguishes that broader universe from the, I think, 60 you said, to maybe the potentially 500? What distinguishes in that universe?
Yes. So what I saw in the bill draft, it looked like it was the definition of a warehouse was focusing on fulfillment and distribution centers, which are sort of that last steps.
Use rather than
In the definition was on how they were used, whereas a broader definition of a warehouse that is not limited to that kind of last step towards consumers, but also includes, the soda or beer company warehouse that sends out a bunch of trucks to grocery stores, bodegas, et cetera. So the way we're seeing it, a facility like that is also generating truck traffic and air pollution, and so we're interested in, discussing with you guys, what's the definition of a warehouse that gets us at the right population. So we're addressing issues from last mile, but also from neighborhoods, like near JFK, where maybe last mile is not as prevalent there, but other warehouses are really impacting those communities.
I think that's fair. And does the 500 number, we'll use that, encompass warehouses that are above 50,000 square feet?
Yes.
Okay, so I think we were also thinking more about the size, and in particular, just making sure we targeted the largest of those. But certainly, I think that we should be able to negotiate certainly uses within that, because that's.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, 50,000 had been sort of the number we had been coalescing on, and so then seeing it in your bill, I think that we actually seem fairly aligned on that as a reasonable size threshold. And so the area for us to discuss further is, are we making distinguish this by use?
Great. So in terms, what is the city doing to create a plan that matches or goes beyond the state's potential program on the horizon in the Clean Deliveries Act?
So, my understanding is that the Clean Deliveries Act doesn't contain a lot of details in terms of, what the points menu would look like or how a compliance obligation for a warehouse would be calculated. That those details would be deferred to rulemaking at the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation. So I don't have visibility into what the details of the program would be. We're really excited about developing this locally because, as we're hearing, right, there are some very New York City specific and even neighborhood specific concerns, but also opportunities, right? If you look at the policy developed in Southern California, there isn't mention of marine freight. There isn't mention of cargo bicycles. There isn't mention of tree planting and preservation, which are all kind of opportunities and needs that are New York City specific. And so that's why we're very interested in doing this at the city level, because we're able to be closest to kind of the needs and opportunities locally, which just are different from elsewhere in the state or the country.
Are there any other distinctions between, how the role is modeled in Southern California and what the thinking is here? I mean, you mentioned right now just additional mitigation options. Are there other distinctions?
Yes. One important distinction is the smallest warehouse size that is regulated in Southern California is 100,000 square feet. We think New York City is a dense urban environment, and our warehouses are therefore used intensively. So that's why we've been looking at a lower size threshold for us rather than what they did in Southern California. I think the things that are on the points menu would be different. There's also, in the Southern California policy, there is a compliance option called a mitigation fee, which is basically a warehouse operator could purchase points, and then, the government uses that money to develop other mitigation programs. That's not something we've been contemplated locally. We're looking to have the operators really make changes in their own operation, as opposed to paying money and not having to change the way they operate.
Are there, I know the program is also relatively newish in California. Are there enforcement mechanisms, or has it been primarily carrot and, I guess, carrots?
Yeah, I mean,
Cake.
so the whole, I guess the key feature of an indirect source rule, whether it's California or the way we're contemplating it here, is that it is a regulatory policy. It's not an incentive policy. There are many of incentives out there that provide subsidies and technical support to fleet operators. Like, those exist and are complementary to an indirect source rule, but an indirect source rule provides the regulatory requirement that really encourages operators to take up some of these incentives or to finally contemplate what would it look like for me to move some of my goods by rail or by marine. So it is a regulatory program, which means there is an obligation to comply, and there would be penalties for non-compliance, and those would be worked out, in legislation and rulemaking. The main compliance mechanism is reporting by the warehouses. So the way we see it, the warehouses would have to report on their truck trips and on the actions they're taking from the points menu. They'd have to provide documentation to DEP of those things that they're reporting, and all of the information would be subject to verification audit to ensure that they're actually doing what they've claimed to have done to comply.
Can I add one other distinction, Dawn, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe in California the warehouses can also clean up the building emissions, which we wouldn't include in New York because those buildings are already subject to Local Law 97. Is that correct? Yes. So we would really want to focus on the indirect, whereas since they don't have an equivalent Local Law 97, they're also giving them that option.
That's helpful. So in terms of, like, how do we anticipate preventing operators, let's say, that fall underneath the threshold, 49,000 square feet, from gaming the system with potentially, like, contributing just as much indirect sources of pollution?
And like I would just suggest, I think the changing the cutoff over time is relatively easy. And I think if we get this thing up and running at 50,000 square feet, 512 warehouses is a really good place to start. Based on the numbers, if it's 6,800 below 25,000 and 512 above, you're looking at about 1,000 warehouses between 25,000 and 50,000. I think you could keep track if you start seeing a massive spike in 49,000 square foot warehouses, you just lower the threshold, right? And then I think we've got a well-oiled path.
I'll hold you to it. Now, in terms of the bill leaves it to DP to determine if there are other indirect sources beyond the warehouses that should be subject to the rule. Have you identified any other categories of indirect sources for potential inclusion in the rule?
Not at the moment, but again, I think the need and opportunity here is to start with warehouses. Hopefully, as we've said, that broader definition. And again, once we see how this works,
Right.
you know, as an agency head, I'm always happy to have a bit more discretion so that I could imagine making rules if we see emerging new classifications, or if we come to appreciate that the solutions that these large warehouses have put in place are applicable to other places that are attracting traffic. I mean, you do have other things that attract traffic, right? Major facilities and what have you, and you could think about this going forward. But I think for the near term, it's really important to start with the warehouses.
Got it. And in terms of, has DEP considered how the indirect source rule might interact with the New York City Industrial Plan for Local Law 172?
Yes, well, DEP is certainly part of the interagency task force that is working on that, and you know, throughout the development of this, Dawn and others have been in close contact with EDC, which is leading that, and so I don't think there is going to be any conflict. I think, in fact, these two are highly complementary as well.
Thank you. So in terms of, I think we're going to do segue a little bit to Intro 107, if that's okay. And Chair, you good? Okay. I guess Intro 107 would require, obviously, DEP to install the street-level air monitors at no fewer than 2 major intersections on every designated use thoroughfare. And I think you noted in your testimony that's every block in New York City. What kind of infrastructure or personnel would it require? You said a lot, and we believe you, but if you could expand upon that a little bit.
So our best interpretation of this bill would be that it would require something on the order of 2,200 monitors, right? And as I mentioned, we have roughly 85 that we've been using for the last 15 or more years on NICAS. So that's a 25x expansion of the number of monitors. There's a provision in the bill as well around parks and playgrounds, and that could be a couple of thousand more. So it's a significant increase. We think there's roughly 13 FTE that we would need to maintain those monitors. And I think the total cost is something on the order of $41 million over the first 4 years. And again, I think while I'm always in favor of additional data, and just personally, NICAS was a Plan YC initiative from the first Plan YC, so I take great pride in having contributed to the creation of NICAS. The reality is that Julie's bureau has so many other ways that we could invest money and headcount to improve air quality that I can't see how this is the place I would spend $40 million if I had $40 million to improve New York City's air.
On that note, so how would you spend $40 million to improve air quality?
Well, we would do the things we're doing. We would continue with all the great work, which I hope, we've got a number of things that I described in my testimony that are federally funded, and I hope we don't wind up losing any of those federal funds. Obviously, this administration has expressed its lack of interest in electric vehicles and vehicle electrification, and we completely disagree with that. Of course, we're extraordinarily in favor of vehicle electrification. We've continued to invest in things like the marine facilities that are part of the Blue Highways plan, and we would invest in our enforcement capability through things like Intro 941, which I think would make the anti-idling laws work much better, because I don't think they're having the kind of impact that the law intended. And I think that intro would actually get us where we ought to be in terms of actually reducing idling in a consistent way. I really think that our DEP air and noise inspectors perform a really valuable service, and I would invest in them.
Well done, Commissioner. No, in terms of for NICAS and the predictive model that's used, obviously, in your testimony, you note that the predictive model with the current usage can really help us drill down, and that we know the sources and places. And maybe this is for the NICAS crew, but does NICAS offer the opportunity for local air quality monitoring efforts to integrate to see if that predictive model does in fact take into account kind of more localized conditions?
Great.
Yeah,
Do I need
sworn
to?
in.
Sorry.
All right, please raise your right hand. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth before this committee and respond honestly to council member questions?
I do.
Thank you. You may begin.
Thanks. Carrie Olson with the New York City Department of Health and Mental Hygiene. Thank you for the question. So first of all, we have really focused with NICAS on quality control and making sure that we understand the effectiveness of our model in understanding specific areas across the city. And then in addition, we work closely with partners on local level monitoring and thinking about how that can be used in conjunction with our city level and neighborhood level information in order to better understand specific areas. So we have a small working group of community-based organizations that get together regularly and think about very localized monitoring with low-cost sensors in order to better understand the areas that are of particular concern for specific communities. So we're always interested in thinking about how our understanding of the larger sources and the most important ones for the variation between neighborhoods, how that looks at a neighborhood level by working with others.
So does any of those communities, I know you mentioned Brooklyn, they seem to be distributed. There's about 5, I think.
Yeah.
Are any of those in Brooklyn include Red Hook or Sunset Park?
Yeah, so a couple of things. So we have a NICAS monitor specifically in Sunset Park. That's one of the specifically cited monitors that is designed in order to capture the very type of neighborhood that we're discussing, that would be impacted by indirect source rule. And then in addition, we are working with community partners in Red Hook specifically, as well as other neighborhoods across the city on air quality monitoring.
Okay, and I know we tried to schedule a time to really look at the model, and we'll definitely do that. I think in particular because Red Hook is so unique, not only with the cluster of last mile facilities, but it also has a cruise terminal, and it's also the BQE cuts it off. Like, it is completely surrounded by environmental burdens, not only in the air, but in the soil as well. So it is particularly unique. So I'd like to follow up with you all about how we also integrate, because there is a lot of local air monitoring going on, but it is not clear to me that there has been a more comprehensive connection, because even DOT is also putting air monitors, and it's not clear who's looking at that data and if there isn't a comprehensive look at it. So I'd love to follow up with you about it.
Yeah, we look forward to that. I think we actually have managed to find another time in our schedule to meet with you and your team next week. So very much look forward to talking more about that.
And I think if I could just jump in, I mean, there's monitoring and gathering data, and as a scientist, no one likes data more than I. But it seems like what we're doing with the indirect source rule is, what we want to do is, I mean, we're helping to solve the problem, and I just want to be mindful of what we're doing with the indirect source rule and other efforts that we may endeavor to undertake. And then it's also the question of monitoring. Like, you get the data, it's always a question of, like, what are you going to do with it? So yeah, it's great to monitor and get information. It's also great to take very affirmative action to reduce some of the air pollution vectors that are having such bad consequences. But yeah, and so I think we've.
We did the thing.
Yeah, I think with the monitoring we're good.
Yep. Yeah, I think what it shows, Chair, is that I think for a long time we've had monitoring. We haven't figured out the mitigation effort because we just kind of
Right.
keep accepting everything as is. And
Right, and just getting bad news and
100%.
bemoaning it. And so, better to light a candle than curse the darkness. And I think that's what the indirect source rule. And I borrowed that from President Kennedy. So,
So you get no credit.
I also, like no one else in this room, actually remember President Kennedy. So, he said that, and I borrowed it. So, and now it's mine.
Yeah, and I will just finally add, I mean, I think, the data here is important in both elements, but using the data to make sure that we are both informing and pushing the industry to do what is responsible other than just making profit at our, sacrificing our health and wellness. So it's important to use that data to make the industry behave. We're certainly not around a moratorium, but to protect people, but also consider design efforts, right? I mean, I think this issue of the 53-foot tractor trailers, if our enforcement mechanisms don't seem to quite be working, I think there's some design elements here that if you can't drive it, interesting, you're going to choose something else. So there are whole, I think, other ways we should be looking at it, and just shifting the market and using the incredible market power of this city of 8 million people. These sectors have grown, and they're billions of dollars in profit because people are using them. And so I think we have a responsibility to also utilize our market power and our regulatory frameworks to shift to make sure that we are being responsible for New Yorkers, both maintaining our economic viability at the same time, making sure we're all alive to make purchases. So I really appreciate the work certainly that you have been doing, and I got to give you a special shout out, Dawn, because I know you have been working tirelessly on this issue, and I know my staff has been working with you very closely, so just thank you and your whole team. It's very difficult work, and it's very courageous, because we don't see this happening in other places, and we need to do it for our health and wellness. So I just want to thank you to this team for being brave and looking at it, using a new tool that is potentially novel but could really have a serious impact in New York City.
If I may, council member, first of all, I'll echo my deep gratitude to Dawn and to Julie for all of their work on it. I'd also just like to recognize that Deputy Mayor Joshi has absolutely championed this since when we first started talking about whether we would endorse it in Plan YC. And the fact that we are here and doing this seeker report is a great testimony to her work.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember. I wish to be associated with your remarks, regarding the good work of Rit and his and his team, and to be associated with Rit's remarks about the deputy mayor. We're also joined by Councilmember Salamanca by Zoom. We appreciate his presence, a valued member of this committee. Grateful that he can be here with us by Zoom on a Friday. I think I'm going to close out the administration portion of the hearing with a question which appeared. Things just appear when you're chairman. They're just like, gets put into your hand, and there you go. That's the benefit of great staff. Question: what does DEP make of criticism that Intro 1130 would shift warehouse activity outside of New York City's jurisdiction, New Jersey, Yonkers, whatever, which could inadvertently increase distance traveled by trucks to delivery into the city?
Look, I think whenever we take steps to impose regulation on fixed facilities, there is a risk of that. I think some of that really will, whether that phenomenon happens will depend on how thoughtful we are about the point system that we impose.
Thank you for that. And also, you have to be close to where you're going to be bringing the stuff. I mean, people have been noticing me. I'm going through like an eye crisis or whatever, and I have these like specialized eye drops or whatever. And at like 10 o'clock last night, I went to my wife and I'm like, I got to stop at the drugstore before I go and to chair the hearing, because it's like in a bad way and I need them. She goes, oh, don't worry about them. And she goes like this. She says, they'll be on the front steps between 4 a.m. and 8 a.m. This is at 10 a.m. I did this at 10 p.m. last night, or whatever. So I don't think they could pull that off from like New Jersey or Yonkers, getting me my eye drops in a couple of hours. And so, real world stories. You know what I mean? This is what we give you here. And
If I may, before you close, ask two of Sylvana's questions.
oh, you know what? I think maybe we just give them to the administration. I think we give them to the administration and then have them answer, in writing. I think we've, I think. Which do you have those? The council, where are they? Yeah, Sergeant, if you could just hand this to the commissioner, please. I read the statement before from Councilmember Brooks Powers. She had some questions that were, give that to the commissioner. If you could, Commissioner, if you could be so kind as to, have your staff prepare written responses to those and get them, to the committee council as well as directly to Councilmember Brooks Powers. That would be really appreciated. And with that, and also after the big send-off we just gave them and lauded them and stuff like that, we don't want to bother them with. I bothered them with my Yonkers question. We don't want to, they're still basking in the glow of how they were being lauded And so with that, I'd like to thank the commissioner and his team from DEP and from DOH for being here today. We look forward to working with you on these initiatives and other initiatives that don't necessarily have to be legislative. We appreciate your big eyes, with regard to how, we could take the indirect source rule and, put that on a grand scale to achieve the benefits that people in New York City who breathe, deserve. So we appreciate that. So have a great weekend. And before we transit, so we're good. We appreciate the administration. Now we can have a little bit of a changing of the guard here. People, before we take the public testimony, people have seen me fussing with my eyes all morning. I have an eye situation that I have to get medically addressed before the end of the day. Otherwise, if I wait until Monday, I'll be in a bad way. So if we can have a little order here. So for the public testimony, I'm going to hand over the gavel to Councilmember Aviles, who is the star of this hearing anyway, to hear the public testimony. Everyone who testifies, I'll have my own, not only the staff of the committee, but my own legislative director, Josh Gachette, will be here for the duration of the hearing. So, almost as good as having me here. Actually, even better, because you're going to have Alexa, and so you can't do, can't do better than that. So, we're going to hand over the con, so we speak, to Councilmember Aviles. This nameplate's going to go away. The hearing will continue, and I'm going to go to the doctor. How about that?
We're good to. Okay, so we will open up now for a public comment period. I remind members of the public that this is a formal government proceeding and that decorum shall be observed at all times. As such, members of the public shall remain silent, please. Thank you, at all times. The witness table is reserved for people who wish to testify. No video recording or photography is allowed from the witness table. Further, members of the public may not present audio or video recordings as testimony, but may submit transcripts of such recordings to the Sergeant at Arms for inclusion in the hearing record. If you wish to speak at today's hearing, please fill out an appearance card with the sergeant at arms and wait to be recognized. When recognized, you will have 2 minutes to speak on today's hearing topic of New York City air quality and last mile deliveries and introductions 1130 and 107. If you have a written statement or additional written testimony you wish to submit for the record, please provide a copy of that testimony to the sergeant at arms. You may also email written testimony to testimony@council.nyc.gov within 72 hours of this hearing. Audio and video recordings will not be accepted. And we will call the first panel. And so we'd like to bring up Lacey Tauber from the Brooklyn Borough President's Office.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm going to swear you in
Okay.
quickly. Please raise your right hand. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth before this committee and to respond honestly to council member questions?
Yes.
Thank you. You may begin.
Okay, great. Hi, everyone. My name is Lacey Tauber. I am here on behalf of Brooklyn Borough President Antonio Reynoso to express his solidarity with the impacted communities you will hear from today and his full support for Intros 107 and 1130. I did a little real-time editing of this for time and not so as not to be too repetitive, but just to say that I think we all agree and know that, city data shows that air quality varies broadly by type of pollutant, location, and time, but it definitely has an outsized impact on our low-income communities of color, which has also been borne out by the recent DEC data that we've really been diving into that was discussed today. And that this has been exacerbated in these neighborhoods by concentration of these last mile facilities, such as in Red Hook and Sunset Park, which actually has even more facilities than I thought, as they mentioned today. I think we said 7, they said 19 in their testimony earlier. And DOT's recent preliminary Red Hook traffic study showed hundreds of trucks per hour on Red Hook's small streets, creating air quality and safety issues for residents, including those who live at the largest public housing development in Brooklyn. Borough President Reynoso thanks the administration for its commitment to addressing this pressing issue through new programs that were discussed today, like the micro delivery hubs, the blue highways, the zoning text amendment that DCP is working on to address facility concentration, and of course the indirect source rule legislation. In its current form, it's only the beginning of what the borough president hopes will be a robust piece of legislation that responds to community concerns. Details that need to be fleshed out include assurance that the bill's final language will not impact active manufacturing businesses, clarification about who is responsible for regulating and reporting on emissions, owners versus operators, a framework and a timeline for required emissions reductions, and a penalty structure for failing to meet that timeline, and requirements for the frequency and method of reporting. Additionally, Borough President Reynoso hopes that this council will develop and pass new legislation to address working conditions associated with these last mile facilities. Previous versions of this legislation were designed to regulate these warehouses. They contained both environmental and labor protections. We just want to stress that these should not be set up as competing interests, but rather as companion proposals. Finally, on Intro 107, Borough President Reynoso originally introduced this bill when he was a council member, and it's long past time for it to pass. I think we're very open to discussion about the bill's scale, but the point is that consistent and accurate reporting leads to action. I am almost done. And our existing air quality data is insufficient. I think, I was happy to hear about the working group, but, folks wouldn't be out there with the purple air monitor standing on the street corners if they felt that the data that they had was accurately reflecting their experience on the ground. So I hope we can all work together on some next steps there. So thank you so much again for holding this hearing. And BP Reynoso is really excited to work with all of you on all of these next steps. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank the BP for his consistent partnership. Great. So our first public panel is, and please forgive me if I mispronounce your name. I do not mean to insult the ancestors. Shatong Lee from Newtown Creek Alliance, Andrew Saavedra, and Jessica Ensman. You may begin.
Good morning. My name is Shanton Lee, and I'm the Community Engagement Coordinator at Newtown Creek Alliance. We are a community-based organization dedicated to restore, review, and revitalize Newtown Creek, an industrial waterway that borders the industrial business zones of North Brooklyn, Land City, and Mathpath. The city identified the warehouse industry as a growing burden on our communities. Assembly District 37 cover much of Newtown Creek's Queenside, including Councilmember Holden's district, has the most large warehouses in the state. And with these warehouses comes trucks, and a lot of them. If you walk around in this district, you will see trucks coming and going from these warehouses, one after another, thousands of truck trips a day. The delivery trucks run on diesel, which is known to be deadly, causing asthma, cancer, miscarriage, heart attack, and premature death. Newtown Creek surrounding areas, largely disadvantaged communities, sees the highest truck volume citywide. It is hard to breathe and unbearably hot in the summer in these areas, nearly 40 degrees hotter than the rest of the city in 2023. And the combination of heat and air pollution is a lot more lethal than either high heat or high air pollution alone. Currently, there are 16 last-mile facilities along the 3.8-mile Newtown Creek watershed, and a lot more are projected to come. We need strong regulations to address the adverse environmental and health impacts that these facilities bring to our neighborhoods. As a member of the Last Mile Coalition, we support the coalition's recommendations and the implementation of Intro 1130. Specifically, we urge the city to implement zero-emission transportation, invest in zero-emission trucks and charging infrastructure. Second, mandate mitigation plans, require warehouses to install air filtration systems and green buffers planted with trees and vegetation for sensitive receptors such as schools and hospitals. Last sentence. Strong regulations and mitigation strategies are essential to protect the health of our communities. Thank you all for your time and consideration.
Hello, my name is Jessica Ensman, the Senior Campaign Organizer, Clean Transportation for All with the Sierra Club. The Sierra Club was founded in 1892 and represents 3.8 million members and supporters nationwide, with over 100,000 in New York State. Pollution from warehouses is not currently regulated in New York City or in New York State. Loopholes and gray areas in existing environmental laws leave these kinds of facilities where emissions come from an aggregation of mobile sources rather than a discrete point source generally unregulated. An indirect source rule is a way to regulate these emissions and stop warehousing practices from spewing pollution. To ensure this rule is done in a way to provide maximum benefits to clean air, Sierra Club and partners from the Electrify New York Coalition urge for the following to be included in the law. The rule should include a menu of options that warehouse owners and operators can follow to reduce emissions, including zero-emission modes of delivery, such as electric vehicles. The program should push warehouse operators to utilize zero-emission modes of transportation, not near zero-emission vehicles or alternative fuels. Enhanced mitigation measures should be implemented for sensitive receptors, including but not limited to schools, daycares, playgrounds, parks, hospitals, senior centers, nursing homes, public housing, and disadvantaged communities. Warehouse operators should be required to submit annual data, the specifics of which are expanded upon in Sierra Club's submitted written testimony. With the exponential growth of e-commerce and the increased demand of warehouses to deliver these goods, this is a problem we need to catch up to. Moving an indirect source rule in the New York City Council will benefit everyday New Yorkers by taking a necessary step forward towards healthy and livable communities free of air pollution.
Thank you for the opportunity to testify on this important piece of legislation. My name is Andrew Saavedra, and I'm an associate attorney with Earth Justice, a national nonprofit law organization, and a member of Electrify New York and the Last Mile Coalition. Passing and implementing Intro 1130 will allow New York to reduce air pollution from heavy-duty vehicles associated with last-mile warehouses and other high-traffic facilities. Last-mile warehouses have been constructed in New York City at an increased rate during the past several years. Compared to traditional warehouses, they generate far more truck traffic due to their connection with e-commerce deliveries. And they are primarily being constructed in low-income communities and communities of color like Maspeth, the South Bronx, and Red Hook, whose residents then bear the brunt of truck pollution, traffic congestion, and decreased pedestrian safety. Intro 1130 would allow New York to regulate facilities like last-mile warehouses by creating what's called an indirect source rule, and we believe the legislation can be improved by providing the following guidance to DEP. First, the regulations that DEP writes should match the rule created by California's South Coast Air Quality Management District to the closest extent possible. That rule has resulted in a significant decrease in air pollution caused by vehicles, and importantly, has survived legal challenges. Second, DEP should ensure that the indirect source rule prioritizes the adoption of zero-emission vehicles as opposed to, quote, near-zero-emission vehicles. Third, the interest of workers at these warehouses should be considered throughout the rule drafting process. Finally, the legislation should include a timeline for DEP to issue a final rule to ensure that this process moves as quickly as possible. Earth Justice looks forward to working with the Council on this and future policies to ensure clean air and safe streets for all New Yorkers. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Councilmember Holden has.
Yeah, I would just add the Sierra Club. I would just add that something should be in, and also the Newtown Creek Alliance. If the facility is sited on a waterway, the city should require that they use it, or else they can't be on the waterway, or they can't site that is critical. Again, if you take a tour of the Newtown Creek area, most of these warehouses are sitting on the creek, yet none of them that I know of are using it. So that should be, the Sierra Club should be considering that as one of your bullet points, that it should require, and the city can. But, the commissioner, I keep talking to the commissioner about this. DEP should require or at least incentivize citing, if you're on a creek, look at waste management. Waste management sits on the creek. I wanted you to stay up there, but I guess you didn't want, but because it's important. Look at waste management. Their business is garbage. How do they get it? They're sitting literally on the creek. And when I asked them when they were opened the warehouse there, I said, "Are you going to use the waterway?" No, we're not in the barging business. I said, "Well, you're not in the rail business either, or in the truck business, but you're trucking and railing this stuff out, but you're not using the most environmentally friendly mode of transportation, which is a barge." And they didn't really have an answer. So I think in all the testimonies, especially the Sierra Club and NCA, that is critical. It's a critical point in your testimonies. If you could, think about that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Councilmember Holden. We've had these conversations, particularly with DCP and the Department of Buildings that provides the permitting for the building of these infrastructures, why none of those considerations ever considered requiring water use.
But this was
particularly on the
20
waterfront.
years ago I testified to this.
Yeah.
And 10 years ago I testified to this, and nothing, again, we don't get anywhere.
Yeah.
And so this is very important that any environmental group mentions this, and we put it on the front burner.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Thank
Thank you, Councilmember Holden.
Thanks.
I
By the way,
guess-
thank you for the work that you do on the Newtown Creek Alliance. I just want to, that's why I'd like to, certainly mention that for the record, that they work tirelessly. And we have to clean up the creek finally. And I think we're sort of getting there, but it's a long process. Thanks.
I guess if anyone would like to respond to the waterfront usage opportunities or the advocacy around that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councilmember. And yeah, we definitely would advocate what you just proposed to mandate that whoever lease or buys a property along especially Newtown Creek waterfront, they will build proper walking waterfronts and have their goods and materials delivered using that waterway that is designated for industrial uses.
Yeah, and the way to do that is you could do it through taxes, property taxes. You could incentivize. I mean, that's what most cities do and municipalities. But it's almost a crime that you're sitting on a creek or you're sitting on a waterway and you're not using that waterway. I mean, that comes with zoning. But again, I've said this to the commissioner over and over again. But in the testimony, you don't hear that. And when I did ask about that, how do we don't enforce trucks but you know what? You also could incentivize or recommend to the leadership and work with multiple agencies. But thank you again for coming back. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you to this panel for your advocacy.
Thank you.
Next, we're going to have Renzo Ramirez, Damian Contreras, and Nicholas Kramer. Did I say that right? Close. Ugh, sorry. Thank you so much. You can start.
Good afternoon. My name is Damian Contreras, and I'm a business agent for Teamsters Local 804. I have seen many of you at our UPS rallies, as well as the recent rallies at the Amazon facilities in Queens. It's good to be around friends. Me and my members appreciate you. We support this bill. People deserve to have safe streets and an environment free of poison and pollution. I am speaking to remind our friends in the City Council of two things. First, that these employers will not do the right thing willingly, and that these employers are harming their workers even more severely than they are harming the public. You've seen how Amazon, in particular, are liars, cheaters, and lawbreakers when it comes to the last mile delivery stations. Please do not be naive enough to believe that they are going to follow this bill just because it becomes law. Do we truly expect them to accurately report how much they are poisoning us? Do we expect members of the public to stand outside of these facilities and count the number of trucks going in and out? Do we think government agencies are spending resources on this? The reality is that public frontline defense is and will always be working people. Who better to hold employers accountable than their workers? This bill needs an avenue for workers and worker committees to ensure their employers are following the law. When these companies poison the air, it is the drivers and warehouse workers who breathe in the poison in at the source. When they jam up traffic or force work speed-ups, it's their workers who feel the squeeze and see the mess firsthand. All the things this law wants to fix, workers experience up close, and they are in the best position to report these conditions. But we also know that these employers retaliate against those that challenge them. Right now, Amazon is firing workers for asserting their rights to organize. In Queens, they turned a hose on workers in freezing temperatures at a peaceful rally. Make no mistake, when these workers report violations of the law at issue, Amazon will retaliate against them too. We need anti-retaliation measures if we want this law to do what it is supposed to do. Lastly, we need to recognize that the harm being done to those living near these warehouses is felt far more acutely by the people inside these facilities. When we talk about the exhaust being released into the air, we cannot forget about the trucks idling enclosed in the building. We cannot forget about the unsafe and unsanitary conditions, injury hazards such as belts moving too fast, lack of egress, lack of temperature controls, lack of safety equipment, dangerous production standards, and other abuses and hazards. We cannot ignore the direct harm being caused just because we're making an indirect rule. Big companies like nothing better than when land use and environmental issues are separated from workplace issues. But nowhere is it more clear that these issues are tied together than when it comes to logistics. Work speed-ups and dangerous quotas lead directly to traffic slowdown, increased vehicle emissions, and workers having to drive hurt or impaired. And poor workplace conditions result in higher work turnover. The companies burn through the local labor market, requiring them to recruit from farther and farther away, adding commute times and vehicle miles from thousands of workers into our system. The place of environmental issues are directly connected. Whether it is through amendments or through a sister bill for this to work, we respectfully ask that there be enforcement mechanisms for workers and worker committees, reasonable work rates, anti-retaliation protections, measures to prevent harm and abuse of these workers, and enforcement mechanisms with teeth. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to testify today. My name is Nicholas Kammerer, and I'm one of the Amazon drivers who led a historic strike in December against unfair labor practices. We are on the front lines of Amazon's environmental injustice. We live in these communities, and we work in these communities. I see the increased traffic in my neighborhood. We spend more time around polluting vans than anyone. We want you to take action. But please do not forget all the other problems with Amazon. Workers are suffering every day. We are fighting back as a union, and we need the city council to support us. Amazon refuses to take responsibility for our low pay. Amazon refuses to take responsibility for our injuries. Amazon refuses to take responsibility for disrespectful managers. Amazon has subcontractors that they call our employers. That's so Amazon can keep all the profits and keep all the control without having any of the responsibility. We need the city council to stand with workers and hold Amazon accountable. We organized a union and went on the biggest strike in the history of Amazon to show that workers have the power to win what we deserve for our families. Not one box moves without us, and not $1 is made without us. New Yorkers have a lot of problems with last-mile warehouses, and big problems call for big solutions. Please take action to protect Amazon workers and our communities. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to share my experience as an Amazon driver and a Teamster. My name is Renzo Ramirez. My coworkers and I organized the largest union in Amazon drivers' history right here in New York City. Now, we need you to join our fight for good jobs at Amazon. You see us out in the street all the time. We are wearing Amazon uniforms, we are driving Amazon trucks, and we are delivering all of your packages. But Amazon says that none of us are Amazon drivers. Amazon has created middlemen companies that it controls so it can control the profit off of our blood, sweat, and tears. But then it can point the finger if there is an accident or we ask for more money, and we are asking you to put an end to it. Amazon warehouse workers have more injuries than the rest of the industry, and the injury rates for drivers are even higher. Driving at union companies like UPS is a career. At Amazon, many drivers don't last a week. They put us on the van without training to do the job safely. We aren't paid nearly enough to support a family to live here in New York City. We deserve better. That is why we are organizing. That is why we need you to stand with us. New York City needs to regulate companies like Amazon so they can abide by the best interests of our communities. Thank you so much.
Thank you all for your work and testimony. I was curious about one of the conditions, I think that was mentioned, was exhaust within the facilities. And can you speak to the additional conditions you mentioned, like the work speed ups and the injuries? Can you talk about the exhaust situation?
Sure. These warehouses house hundreds of trucks. The larger the facility, the larger amount of vehicles are housed within its building. So when you have to take the vehicle out. You got to turn it on. It turns on the fume, turns on the motor, and then the motor creates all the fumes, and that just stays within the buildings. I mean, I've witnessed it many times in the UPS facilities. It's happening in the Amazon facilities for sure. And with UPS, it's been around a little longer, so they are more regulated. But Amazon is breaking all the rules. Like it's happening more there than anywhere else, because the oversight is a lot less. But it's the idling is terrible. I mean, everyone is affected, whether you're management or you're the hourly, everyone's affected by that.
Yeah, thank you for that. I think we were trying to distinguish earlier. I think not many people realize the multi-leveled, like hundreds of thousands of square feet these facilities are until you see it. Having thousands of truck idling inside a facility that you can't even see it outside the ones coming out every 2 minutes is astounding.
Yes, when we had the rally in the Maspeth building on Grand Street, Grand Avenue? Grand Avenue. I was amazed of how many floors that facility has, not to mention the square footage, so you multiply that by the floors. They had a lot of trucks coming out of that facility.
Yeah, could I add something? And that facility is about 100 yards from a District 75 school, which I protested about that. I said that, first of all, that school, District 75 school, is smack dab in the middle of that industrial area. Why would anybody put a school there? Well, the school was built in the early 20th century and wasn't factories there. So this is what happened. So I said, well, let's move the school, get it out of there, because these students are certainly challenged beyond belief, and their parents, and now they're put into a polluted area. And not only there's 18-wheelers idling, and I have video, idling right outside under the windows. And then, of course, the air conditioning system is pretty poor of the building. So here's what that's what the neighborhood is dealing with. And then, of course, the truck driver. How does when you get the goods, do you have 18-wheelers going in the facility regularly, in the Amazon facility?
So at the facility that I had worked at, DPK4, yes, the 18-wheelers, they don't directly enter the facility. There's a separate kind of entranceway, separate from where we serve the delivery.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out where it's in the back, or it's so huge.
Towards if you're familiar with it, kind of the approach from the LIU would be towards the back, the second.
Yeah, because I don't see that. It's hard to find that. It comes in through the back, you say.
There's a second kind of lot towards the end of the property.
Are they 53-footers? Do you know, or?
I wouldn't be qualified.
Okay, if you can look, just see there are 53 on the side. It has to be labeled on toward the front of the trailer.
I can definitely check that out next
because
time.
then because I see trucks, but again, sometimes they're not marked Amazon.
On the 53-footer issue, that is something that I've actually discussed at length at meetings within the Union Hall, and the lack of enforcement from the government. We are well aware that 53-foot trailers shouldn't be in the city. However, we see them not just from UPS, but from every other company in the country that enters the city limits.
But are your drivers doing? They're driving it?
Yes.
Are they trained to drive 53-footers?
They're not supposed to, but the company doesn't care.
So they're not certified. You have to be certified and go through training to be a driver 53-footer.
I'm not part of the feeder department, so I'm not 100% sure on that. It could be. However, we know for sure that you're in the city limits. You're not supposed to drive.
Yeah, and you're supposed to have a permit, but we don't give permits to go on the streets. We give permits to go through.
Correct.
Like on the expressways.
Correct.
If you're going out to Long Island, we give a permit.
Correct.
We don't give permits to go on the streets of the city of New York.
Correct.
Right.
That is correct. And
Thank you.
that's a
So
very
they're in
big
violation.
problem. Yeah, UPS is certainly in violation.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilmember, thank you all for your advocacy and the work you're doing. We're with you. Our next panel, Bryce Stack. Zach Miller, and what do you think? Osasi? G. A-F-E. Mr. Affy? Close. I didn't want to. Oh, man. It's not okay. Yeah.
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Bryce Stack, and I'm a member of the New York City Clean Air Collective. NYCAC, as we call it, is a nonprofit organization which advocates for cleaner air in New York City, with a particular focus on reducing pollution from idling trucks in environmental justice areas. I speak today highly in favor of Intro 107. This legislation is precisely what we need in order to get to the root of the problem of air pollution, especially in environmental justice zones. I'm an active participant in the Citizen Air Complaint Program, and I can say with confidence that citizen enforcement ensures that last-mile delivery cuts down on pollution. This enforcement occurs in both environmental justice zones and other areas, because Amazon and other companies park large box trucks on the street, turning the engine off in almost all cases thanks to the efforts of the Citizen Air Complaint Program. And then workers, in these cases, they walk or they ride electric bikes to deliver Amazon packages to their final destinations. The Citizen Air Complaint Program also covers environmental justice zones, which include warehouses. The less density in housing currently incentivizes companies to use smaller trucks for last-mile delivery. Although these trucks are idling much less than in the past due to the Citizen Air Complaint Program, more work needs to be done, and some companies continue to idle habitually. And regarding the proposed legislation, Intro 1130, as it is currently drafted, I'm very concerned. The Adams administration, who appointed the commissioner of the Department of Environmental Protection, is looking to enforce rules that they are writing without council approval or input. And I'm concerned that as the bill is currently drafted, the Department of Environmental Protection will not be held accountable to the public or the council. And briefly, if I could talk about the issue of 53-footers, I think a citizen complaint program could solve the issue overnight. We've seen this happen with idling. There are companies that have stopped idling overnight because when you hit the company where it hurts in their wallets, when they have to pay fines, they will no longer break the law. So thank you very much for holding this hearing. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today. My name is Zach Miller. I am Vice President of Government Affairs for the Trucking Association of New York. My full testimony has been submitted. I think I've learned my lesson that I can't get this done in 2 minutes if I read it, but the point I really do want to make out loud relates to the menu of options for an ISR to work properly. To be successful, an ISR must incentivize investment in cleaner technologies in a way that is both feasible and sustainable. The NYC Clean Trucks program has provided a strong framework, offering a variety of vehicle options, including California certified clean idle diesel, battery electric, hybrid compressed natural gas, while delivering significant emission reductions, 97% particulate matter reduction and 89% nitrogen oxide reduction from trucks that qualify. This type of flexibility, menu-based approach should be expanded under ISR to include renewable diesel-powered trucks and other proven technologies. Additionally, fleets should be able to receive credits for participating in initiatives such as the off-hour deliveries, micro-hubs, and blue highways, all of which contribute to reduce congestion and lower emissions. And the last point is, we do know that New York State is working on an ISR as well. We highly recommend collaboration between the city and state so that there are not two different frameworks of ISR for New York-based operators to be dealing with. Thank you.
Nice. Thank you for the opportunity today. My name is Osage Afe, and I'm the Senior Business Assistance Manager at the Long Island City Partnership. And I'm appreciative of the opportunity to testify today. As this legislation continues to develop, I strongly urge that industrial businesses advocates and stakeholders be engaged in the process to ensure that the regulations strike the right balance between sustainability and urban industrial preservation. Industrial businesses in the IBZ play a vital role in NYC's economy as the second largest private employer, provided middle-class jobs that serve a pathway to opportunities for our diverse workforce. These businesses provide middle-class jobs that pay nearly $20,000 more annually than retail positions and nearly double wages of the food and beverage industry. These are jobs that offer economic mobility for our diverse workforce. 80% are minorities, 50% are immigrants. However, the indirect source rule threatens to undermine the city's commitments to the IBZs. These zones were established to preserve industrial space, prevent displacement, and ensure that industrial businesses can operate and thrive. The proposed rules could create additional operational challenges, making it harder for them to remain in the city and undermine the promise of the IBZ protection. This bill could also place yet another burden on businesses that are already grappling with a growing number of costly mandates. For example, Local Law 97 imposes severe fines for missing hard-to-miss emission targets, while congestion pricing adds tolls that further increase the cost of doing business. These are in addition to the rising costs associated with minimum wages, increasing paid sick leave, and more. Putting the indirect source rule on top of these challenges risk tipping the scales too far, making it unsustainable for industrial businesses to operate in New York. Paradoxically, the industrial source rule may hinder the ability for industrial businesses to help the city meet its greenhouse gas emissions reduction goal, transitioning to clearer operations and reducing greenhouse gas emission in a shared objective. But it requires significant investment from businesses. If businesses are weighed down by potential fines from this rule, they will struggle to make investments necessary for adopting sustainable practices.
So thank you all to this panel. I guess I'd like to say just a few things. So in terms of the city and state ISR, we have been talking to each other for many years. As you know, the state ISR has been in conversation for a good number of years. City and state, if the state develops an ISR and is able to pass it, obviously they will preempt us, which means that our regulation will need to align. And it cannot be, if they, let's say, hold a higher standard or offer, our regulation will need to then match that.
Right.
So I think we have been talking about how these two things will work together. I think given that the city is keen on moving forward and really digging into this issue, we want to continue to pursue that because we think it's important and we have some momentum. I hear you, Mr. Afe. In some of the concerns that you outlined, I represent one of the largest industrial business zones in Southwest Brooklyn. And so we are keenly aware of the Balancing Act, and particularly what you heard from the administration and what we are watching for is to make sure that these mega facilities in particular are the first tier of regulation. They themselves are destroying our industrial business zones by just eating up acres of land and no one can compete for industrial business rent when you're going against Amazon. What was their annual profit? I don't know. Billions. We ain't worried about them. They need to pay their workers correctly, and they need to do right by New York City and address all the labor conditions. However, we are concerned with a healthy industrial business sector, honestly, and we want to retain. So we will continue to talk and look for your guidance around how we strike that correct balance of the two. Really hear your concerns there.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that input. And all we're asking is, for the industrial advocates to be part of the discussion.
Yes, and I will say the council, with all the M-Zone work, we've worked very closely, and I hope you all see that you have some real champions in protecting our industrial working waterfronts. or just industrial zones in general. I would claim that this council has done an enormous amount of work on that end and really trying to prove some action there. It is not an easy feat when all the city wants to do is build luxury housing everywhere.
That's
But
true.
we are having that fight. So I just thank you for the work and the testimony, and obviously, the legislation is a framework. It doesn't have the details, and always the devil is in fact in the details. And until we see those details and we fight about them, we will hold this with very cautious optimism of moving forward to do the right thing and find policy solutions where they're applicable, but I still think we have a whole lot of other work to do, both in design and citizen. And right now we have a federal government that would be defunding, in fact, many of the tools that we were implementing, like alternative methods and, clean air tools. So that doesn't take New York City off the hook, and because of your advocacy, we're going to continue to push New York City to do better by its residents and its businesses. And so thank you. Thank you for your testimony. The next panel is Julia Corrado, Gloria Boyce Charles, and Crystal Brown. You can start. No? Okay, you can start.
Thank you to the council for the opportunity to submit testimony today. My name is Julia Corrado. I'm the researcher and policy analyst at Align, the Alliance for Greater New York. Align strongly supports Intro 1130. This bill would mitigate the pollution of environmental justice communities and enforce the emissions regulations necessary to maintain our climate goals and hold large corporations accountable. At the state level, a similar version of Intro 1130 was introduced last session, which contains expanded and specified language. We suggest Intro 1130 follow the state bill in both its definitions and body language to ensure the maximum level of enforcement. Intro 1130 is aimed at regulating the harms of large corporations like Amazon and not small manufacturers, so we applaud the 50,000 square foot threshold for a qualifying warehouse, and we encourage council to keep small manufacturers in mind as this bill is iterated upon. One cannot properly consider the environmental problems surrounding last mile warehouses without confronting the labor concerns within these facilities. Low wages, poor hours, impossible work quotas, unregulated subcontracting, and more make working in last mile facilities dangerous. In fact, they have some of the highest rates of serious injury in the country. We strongly urge the council to address both the labor and environmental concerns hand in hand. If Intro 1130 does not directly incorporate labor provisions in its language, then council should ensure additional legislation is pursued in conjunction to do so. Labor should be top of mind at every juncture of this policymaking process. During the environmental review process this bill will trigger, there also must be continued opportunities for public input. We urge this committee and council to support the passage of Intro 1130 with the strongest possible language and enforcement and bring overdue reform to last mile facilities in New York. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Good afternoon, morning to all, and thank you so much for holding this hearing today. My name is Gloria Boyce Charles, and my family has resided in the Springfield Gardens, Brookville community since 1975. Because of our co-location with JFK Airport, our community has been plagued by the burdens of airplane noise and air pollution, and increasingly within the last 10 to 15 years with the trucking traffic associated with an ever-growing air cargo industry. We live in an environmental justice community. Southeast Queens is also home to several waste transfer stations, which are sources of trucking activity and emissions that I think should also be covered under this legislation. My testimony will focus in on air cargo warehouse emissions, and you will hear testimony from others regarding waste transfer. Now, the trucking warehouses within the off-airport business industrial district and those embedded in residential communities wreak havoc on the air quality, safety, and quality of life of our residents. And in our community, you see one newly constructed Amazon last mile warehouse, but mostly what you're seeing is we have a business industrial district and we have other warehouses that are embedded within residential communities. We don't know the sizes of those warehouses. In fact, we don't really know the owners. We don't really know the operators. We just know that we are plagued with the heavy traffic, the 53-footers that we've fought about for a long time with NYPD and DOT, and I'd love to talk with you more about that, Councilmember Holden. We know that we're plagued with those things, and we know that the air pollution in particular that this addresses is a real serious problem. By engaging directly with the warehouse owners and operators, Intro 1130, I'm hopeful will begin to bring some of the much needed regulation, transparency, and accountability to the warehousing interests that are operating within our community.
I'm going to yield my time.
Warehouses should be required to meet stated truck size, weight, and emission standards, and information identifying their owners, their operators, their businesses, and points of contact should be made publicly available, perhaps even via a designated central website. I think that we can begin to address the issue of 53-footers illegally traversing our streets by this legislation. There's an opportunity here because if we're requiring them to report on their daily activity, the numbers and the sizes of the trucks coming in and out for each operator and the truck routes that they're using, these statistics should be able to be in compliance with legally documented truck routes and size and weight requirements, and that should help to address some of those 53-footers, right? In addition to which, these warehouses should be charged with finding ways to minimally disrupt the communities. Right now, they just do what they want. Homes shake and rattle underneath these trucks that travel along streets that are not built to accommodate those weights and sizes. Just as importantly as making sure that we know who and what is going on there, it's critical that this legislation really have some measures for enforcement, monitoring and enforcement of the legislation. Too often we put all these wonderful regulations out there and they make sense, but there's no one who's really accountable for monitoring and for enforcing for compliance. And that is just absolutely so critical in the reason why we find ourselves in the predicament that we're in today. There are laws, but nobody is taking accountability for monitoring or enforcing compliance. And when the general public tries to hold someone accountable, it goes like this. One person points fingers at the others. So I'm going to say lastly, and I thank you. It's important to consider that 50,000 square feet should not be the thing that we're using to determine if the warehouse ought to be included in this program. In Southeast Queens, there are clusters, and there's research that's been done by Natalie Bombeno, one of the professors out of Queens College, to show that there are clusters of these warehouses in our communities. And I don't know what sizes they are, but imagine the residents who live in the surrounding community, churches, daycare centers, shelters, Parks, we're all being impacted by the quality, the poor air quality that's and the traffic, quite frankly, and the illegal parking that's coming out of these warehouses. So this needs to be considered when you're looking at what warehouses need to be engaged in this or held under this regulation. I'm going to ask that, you know, the designers of the legislation look at ways to include communities in the ongoing monitoring and ongoing feedback that you're getting about this program and how it's working. Because without that, you know, your community members continue to be frustrated and underserved. And so that's it. Thank you for your time. I appreciate.
No,
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your testimony.
Good afternoon. It's a real privilege to be able to attend this hearing. This is my first ever City Council hearing. I've enjoyed listening and learning. My role here really was to support my friend, my neighbor, Gloria Boyce Charles. And so she handed me, I asked for some testimony just in case I had an opportunity. I didn't know I would have an opportunity. I wanted to yield my time to Gloria because she's so much more articulate and knowledgeable about the subject. But I will say that I live in Brookville, Queens, which is 2 miles north of JFK. I also live in a zone where we do have, as Gloria mentioned, we do have these industrial zones embedded there. I have had 53-foot tractor trailers come down my narrow 2-lane street. They have driven over a median. One was driving on the opposite side of the road to get to the destination of one of these industrial zone warehouses. So I agree, yes, that I'm in full support. I'm here to be in favor of ISR 1130, but I do think, as Gloria mentioned, that the minimum should be under 50,000 square feet because that doesn't account for the huge amount of traffic that we see from trucks. I also live 1.5 miles from that huge Amazon warehouse, and the traffic there is enormous, and it's all 24 hours a day. It never ceases. So thank you very much for allowing me to have some time.
Chair Holden?
Thank you for the testimony. Gloria, I don't know, how long have you been battling the 53-footers?
Oh, my goodness.
So we have similar backgrounds. I wouldn't be sitting here as a council member if it wasn't for the 53-foot trucks coming through my neighborhood at 1 and 2 in the morning, getting stuck on narrow streets, knocking down fences, knocking down signs, knocking down traffic lights. We had one corner, we had at least 2 traffic lights knocked down twice a month, and it was going on for 5 years. We couldn't solve it. We put up no truck signs, but the 53-footers do more than just knock down infrastructure and fences. They kill people because their turns are much wider, and then they have to go up on the sidewalk. And they don't see a pedestrian who's standing on the corner. And it's happened in my neighborhood. It's happened everywhere in the city of New York. Yet, but I love Gloria, I love your idea of putting it in the legislation that we have to control this. You can't have these trucks coming in. There is already a law. It's not enforced. But I thank you for your suggestions. Gloria, I'd like to talk to you about it because we could share notes and maybe we could do something.
Yeah, I would love
I love it. Thank you so much.
May I ask a question, please? My question or comment, there's so much technology, not just with congestion pricing, but so much technology. So, Councilmember Holden, when you said about enforcement, that the NYPD, the DOT, the DEP doesn't seem to be able to enforce the regulations about no 53-foot tractor trailers. Why isn't there some kind of technology that can scan the license plate
There's
number?
technology. There's no resolve to implement the technology. DOT still puts those wires in the street. You know, that's dates back 40, 50 years to count, the traffic or to count. than when they could do it on poles with smart technology. They just don't do it. But they don't have the resolve because it's a business decision. The lobby, the trucking lobby, and obviously many other lobbies don't want that. It's not good for business. But what about the communities that these businesses are in? That's what we should be asking.
My zip code should not determine my health.
Exactly.
My lifespan.
No, exactly. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you to this panel. Councilmember Holden, we're agreeing a lot today, you and I. I agree 100% with Councilmember Holden. Thank you. And the next panel, Daniel Honkman, Clifton Shore? Smith, Clifton Smith, and Ryan Loki.
Good afternoon. My name is Dan Hockman. I'm a lifelong New Yorker and resident of Sunnyside, Queens. I also work for a company called QuanteQ, which makes distributed air quality monitoring infrastructure and sensors. I'm voicing my support for the both pieces of legislation as a New Yorker, but also to reemphasize the need to expand our monitoring capabilities. The folks from DEP made a point just now that they kind of indicated that what we have is enough to measure what's going on with trucking. And I want to register complete disagreement with that. They only operate 85 nodes, which don't even measure ultrafine particles or black carbon, which means you're not really counting what's coming out of these tailpipes. The second thing I want to disagree with is the characterization that it's going to require $41 million and 13 FTEs to get this done. I can tell you that whether it's our company or another company, you can get it done for way less than that and actually count the pollution that matters, which is ultrafine particles, black carbon, carbon monoxide, and the NOx fumes or emissions. So in summary, fully in support of the 107 monitoring provisions. I think we can 10x or 20x or even 30x the monitoring infrastructure in the city. Certainly not spending $41 million, probably closer to 10, and with very far fewer FTEs than the 13 they cited. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm here to speak about Intro 1130 and Intro 107. My name is Ryan Loki. As you have likely noticed, I am wearing an Amazon delivery vest. That's because I deliver packages and groceries for Amazon. I am not speaking on behalf of Amazon, but I am speaking as an Amazon delivery driver who spends most of his day in environmental justice neighborhoods. Further, I am a frequent participant in the Citizen Air, Noise, and Sanitation programs. In fact, I appear to be the most active participant in Councilmember Holden and Avil's districts. I am also one of the only participants who actually participates at night. In fiscal year 2024, I gathered information that supported several thousand idle, dust, and noise complaints, as well as over 100 illegal dumping, theft of recycling, and graffiti cases. In fact, the injuries and the stamina you're probably hearing in my voice were sustained just the other day while holding a city contractor accountable for violations of the law. My experience gives me a unique perspective on these bills, and I ask for a little latitude in addressing them. Once I finish my main testimony, I would like to offer to speak further on the 53-foot truck issue. I have significant experience as a commercial driver and have worked with sanitation and BIC officers to target bad operators in Councilmember Holden's district. I have captured 53-foot trailers and trucks taking out fences, hydrants, vehicles, and other items throughout Holden's district, and then a little as well in your district as well, Ms. Avils. Let me begin with Intro 1130. Regulating indirect sources is an excellent idea, but as currently drafted, Intro 1130 hands too much power to the executive branch. This is not good policy. It is especially bad policy under the current administration. Further, it only applies to warehouses and other sources exceeding 50,000 square feet. Many of the worst polluters by traffic volume are considerably smaller. Throughout the Maspeth IBZ, the North Brooklyn IBZ, and the Southwest Brooklyn IBZ, I have personally witnessed smaller warehouses, approximately 10 to 20,000 square feet, receive a dozen long-haul trucks, the 53-foot trailers, and 50-plus smaller distribution trucks in just under 3 hours. This may occur usually at about 4 to 7 a.m. It happens day after day, and in many cases, even on Saturdays and Sundays. I can point out a dozen such locations in your district, Mr. Vils, and another dozen or so in Holden's district without a problem. I would be happy to provide footage to anybody who would like to see it. Further, a council member raised concerns about this simply transferring truck traffic to New Jersey. This is a very valid concern. It may surprise the council to hear this, but a significant amount of Amazon vans that service Manhattan already come from New Jersey each and every day. Anytime that they have excess capacity for the vans and they need to fill it, they send them in from Jersey to operate in New York City. It's just how it works. Now, as a driver, I am not privy to Amazon corporate decisions, but I do have common sense. One would imagine the company would simply dispatch more vans from New Jersey until they could secure warehouses in New York City that are under the square foot threshold. I'd now like to address Intro 107. I work from a number of different Amazon warehouses. Most, once again, are within Holden and Avils district. 3 are located in Red Hook. 2 are located in Sunset Park. 2 are in Maspeth. 3 of these warehouses are located immediately adjacent to the Red Hook Recreation Zone. 2 are adjacent to Basis Independent School, a K-12 school. 2 are adjacent to the Maspeth waterfront. Public School 9, Walther, is only a block away from the Amazon Grand Ave location. These warehouses, known as stations in Amazon lingo, have extensive vehicle traffic. If I recall correctly, the DEP commissioner said nobody had really counted the truck traffic. I can tell you I did. I have been for over a year now. Each station receives an average of 5 to 40 long-haul trucks a day. These are the tractor trailers you see pulling 53-foot trailers. Roughly 90% of their traffic is 53-foot trailers. Each station has another 100 to 250 local vans coming and going 18 hours a day. During the peak season, that's roughly 21 hours a day. But most of the year, it is 18 hours. Then add employees and independent contractors, the surge workers. They bring an additional 100 to 400 personal vehicles each and every day to each location. The Grand Ave location swells to almost 800 vehicles on the busiest of periods. Again, I am happy to provide footage to any council member who would like to see it for themselves. As you can imagine, this volume of traffic generates considerable local pollution. It is very important that we as a community study just how much pollution this traffic is causing. If we don't track the source pollution, how are we going to ever propose a solution that would work? In conclusion, I respectfully urge the committee to proceed with Intro 107 and perhaps reconsider the scope and language of Intro 1130. Thank you.
I'm not here ready yet. I'm not here ready yet. Well, last year, I support you last year because last year I support you. Like last year, and we did a pick. I was at the picket line, supporting Amazon, who went on strike. So and I don't work in Amazon. I do work in Yonkers. Like, so we don't without going on strike, we don't go on strike. So we sell clothes, we sell clothes. We do home goods for customer. So what we do is that we pick up the merchandise, the merchandise from the trucks, because even though that we don't have the freight elevator, so I do to support you, but I still to support Amazon. So we get trucks. We pick up for the trucks. So I do work in Burlington Coal Factory, and I'm associate in Yonkers. I do work in the receiving, in Yonkers in the Central App. But what we do is that we do it every day. Like we hit the goals. Like we do pick up from the customer. Like we selling merchandise. Like home goods, like furnitures. Like we do pick up from like clothes. Suitcase, shoes. The shoes, dresses, clothes, and the kids and Baby Depot and the merchandise, and that's what we do every day. And that's all I have to say. And my 2 minutes is up. That's all I have to say.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Mr. Loki, do you sleep?
So I actually only slept about 2 hours last night so that I could come to the council meeting today.
No, I appreciate all the work that you have done, and clearly, I needed to talk to you about 2 years ago. No, honestly, your testimony was very insightful, and I really appreciate both the recommendations, the caution, and the requests entailed in your testimony, and we'll definitely be talking. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hold it. Oh.
Yeah, Ryan, I want to I want to give you a proclamation. I mean, what you're doing and how you're, very passionate about what you're saying, and your observation on PS9, it's right down the street, and they had problems before the Amazon was built, and that's why I'm still working to try to move that school, because I can't move Amazon. I don't think we can at this point, but that school should not be there. But just the numbers that you gave me, that's a good starting point. So I'd like to talk to you some more. Yeah.
If I may say, I've actually been in contact with your office. We met a few months ago about Intro 941. And your office has been relaying some information regarding, I guess, some complaints and some other things.
Yeah, we get a lot, yeah.
Yeah, and we've been doing our best to actually try and get some more support to sanitation as well as BIC for the cameras for the illegal dumping in your district. But I'll admit, it changes constantly.
The cameras take forever to get up.
Yep,
I mean,
and once they get up...
I won't be in the council by the time they get up, but at least I'll know that's protecting the neighborhood. They actually pay for themselves within like one dumping, or
Absolutely.
2 dumpings, let's say.
Just unfortunately, the individuals who participate in that particular sport, they're very good about spotting the cameras.
Oh, they are. I didn't see. Again, you're
Extremely.
good on the undercover.
Well,
because I don't see that. I don't know about that.
So
I didn't even
working-
know about 4 in the morning. That's when these trucks are coming in.
I would
We're
be
still-
happy to actually send the office some dash cam footage.
Yeah, let's meet. Let's meet again, and let's. I want to go over some of these numbers with you, and then we could. But thank you so
You
much.
you would be amazed, sir, about the number of trucks and their 53-foot trailers, and you were spot on about how they're sticking out of the loading docks. I'll put it this way: on certain roads, such as your Review Ave, you could have about 35 to 40 long haul at about 4 a.m., and they'll block the entire road.
Wow.
The entire.
Yeah, I got to sleep though. So
Well,
at
that's-
my age, I have to sleep a little bit.
Understandable. That's why you got guys like us.
But I just want to, again, Dan, I want to thank you, and I want to talk to you about the technology, because I've been saying this to DOT. Why do we not have these on poles? I was the technology chair in the previous council, and we were working towards that. But you can see that they were just very, very slow. And when I still see the technology they're using from the 1950s, makes my blood boil. So what you're saying is correct, and I do want to, Dan, I do want to meet with you at some point, or talk to you on the phone or Zoom to go over some of these things. So thank you.
I'm happy to do so.
Thanks so much.
And I support you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we'll be moving to panelists on Zoom. So for those of you on Zoom, once your name is called, a member of our staff will unmute you and the Sergeant at Arms will give you the go-ahead to begin. Please wait for the Sergeant of Arms to announce that you may begin before delivering your testimony. And we are calling first Amy Turner, followed by Kevin Garcia.
Time starts now.
Hi, my name is Amy Turner. Thank you so much for the opportunity to testify. I am here to testify in strong support of intro number 1130 in relation to the regulation of indirect sources of air pollution. I work at the Sabin Center for Climate Change Law at Columbia Law School, where I direct our city's climate law initiative. So in that capacity, I work with local governments across the country to craft climate policies that minimize risk of state and federal preemption. And my work includes the study of local policies to lessen vehicle greenhouse gas emissions, and I'm expert in those legal considerations surrounding warehouse indirect source rules. So in addition to expressing my support for Intro 130, I'm here to share some legal context for an ISR's legal viability. Local governments, including New York City's, are constrained in how they may regulate emissions from vehicles, including freight vehicles. Section 209 of the Clean Air Act preempts state and local governments from, quote, adopting or attempting to enforce any standard relating to the control of emissions from new motor vehicles or new motor vehicle engines subject to the Clean Air Act. This broad preemption clause significantly constrains the city's ability to regulate or otherwise set stringent vehicle emission standards, including for freight trucks and other vehicles that frequently enter and leave last-mile e-commerce warehouses. The city does not have the authority to require that freight vehicles be electric or be of another low emissions technology, as doing so would effectively compel vehicle owners to purchase new vehicles that exceed the Clean Air Act standards. The city does, however, have the authority to regulate the indirect source of those freight vehicle emissions, the stationary e-commerce facilities that they serve. An ISR can avoid preemption by the Clean Air Act by offering compliance optionality, the very thing that such a rule is designed to do. If intro number 130 is enacted, DEP will be tasked with setting a greenhouse gas emissions standard for warehouse facilities, and it will develop a menu of compliance options that warehouse operators may choose
Time
among.
expired. Thank you.
You can finish your testimony.
Sure. Another warehouse indirect source rule in effect in the South Coast Air Quality Management District in Southern California is structured this way. Its compliance options include acquiring or using zero emissions vehicles or near zero emissions vehicles, reducing truck visits, installing vehicle charging, using vehicle charging, installing on-site solar, and installing air filtration in homes, schools, hospitals, and other off-site spaces. As such, no warehouse operator or freight vehicle owner is ever required to purchase a new zero emissions vehicle. They may choose other selections from the compliance menu. An indirect source rule promulgated under Intro 1130 would work similarly. The compliance options could differ, as DEP will select methods for compliance that meet New York City's unique needs. But the legislation is designed to avoid Clean Air Act preemption in an analogous way. There are few other local policy options for minimizing freight vehicle emissions that can avoid Clean Air Act preemption as neatly as an ISR. Local efforts to lessen vehicle pollution outside the scope of Clean Air Act preemption are all the more critical as our federal executive branch seeks to roll back requirements that protect our communities. The Trump administration is already reportedly considering rescinding the endangerment finding, which serves as the scientific and legal basis for all federal regulation of GHGs from vehicles. To supplement my testimony and to address other legal considerations surrounding warehouse indirect source rules, I attach to my written testimony my June 2024 white papers entitled Cities, E-Commerce, and Public Health, 3 Legal Pathways to Limiting Freight Vehicle Emissions. It discusses Clean Air Act preemption and other considerations for structuring an ISR in New York City. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Turner. Next, we're going to have Kevin Garcia.
Time starts now.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kevin Garcia. I'm the Senior Transportation Planner with the New York City Environmental Justice Alliance. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak today, and thank you to the Council for all of their work on this. We are part of the Last Mile Coalition, and the Electrify New York coalitions, which work to regulate the siting and operation of last mile and mega e-commerce warehouses. NEJA has long advocated for reducing vehicle miles traveled, tailpipe emissions, and air pollution. And many of our members' communities are located near industrial business zones, truck routes, and highways, and have been disproportionately impacted by the air pollution. Intro 107 and Intro 1130 are key pieces of legislation to address some parts of the unregulated e-commerce industry, and companion legislation to protect workers is still necessary. Intro 107 presents an opportunity to illustrate the impacts of increased truck traffic and protect the health of communities, particularly EJ communities. Now, Intro 1130 is ambitious in establishing the nation's first citywide indirect source rule to address the emissions associated with e-commerce warehouses. However, the bill needs to address some critical concerns to ensure a comprehensive approach to reducing emissions. The legislation should require zero emission vehicles and not allow for near zero emission vehicles, including but not limited to biofuel, renewable diesel, compressed natural gas, or renewable natural gas. By permitting non-zero emission vehicles at these facilities, New York City will not be able to reach its climate targets, and neighborhoods will continue to experience delayed reductions in air pollution. It is encouraging to see that the City Council is tackling the issues of this unregulated industry, and these two pieces of legislation are key pieces of the complex puzzle to address the impacts of e-commerce warehouses. And companion legislation to address labor issues and establish worker protections is also necessary.
Time expired. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kevin. Next, we have William Scarborough, followed by Christopher Gorecki.
Time starts now.
I understand we may be having some technical difficulties with Willem. We'll give you another second. William, I think we'll come back to you, and hopefully you can work out the tech issues. We'll move to Christopher Garawecki.
Time starts now.
Hi, good afternoon to the City Council. Thank you for allowing me to testify. I've just got wind of this bill, and some of it I actually really agree with, but my title is Compliance Manager for Hub Truck Rental, so I am in the transportation industry. I'll start off with, as an industry, we're all for cleaner air, but there's some concerns we have with the bill's approach, especially to small businesses, and a chain reaction to this potential regulation. First, we keep hearing about the electric truck mandate. It's not that easy. They cost 4 times as much. They have about half of the range and about half of the cargo capacity. And they're also heavier, wearing our roads down. Also, but I do like the fact of water and rail, and would love to see like an infrastructure push, some kind of bill, whether it be statewide. That's the ultimate solution here. I know it's not easy, but we used it previously when this majority of this area was industrial based, and I can't see why we can't go back to that. But it really doesn't help. It kind of hurts. I think maybe this bill should be rewritten. Again, we keep hearing about electric trucks. The reality is they don't exist for the masses. Like I said, they're 4 times as much. They're heavier, less cargo capacity. You'll see more on the road with more wear and tear on our already weakening roadways in the New York City area. I did hear Councilman Holden's interest on the 53-footer. We know it's a huge issue. I would just like to add, there is no special training for a 53-foot trailer. You have a Class A CDL, and that's it. So I just wanted to
Time expired.
bring that
Thank
up.
you.
Thank you so much for your testimony. When you were referencing the bills, was your comments directed at one specific bill?
Yeah, this is on the 1130. That's what I'm commenting.
Direct source rule. Great. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Next, we will have Michelle Meyer.
Time starts now.
Hello, my name is Michelle Meyer, and I'm a researcher with the International Council on Clean Transportation, an independent nonprofit organization that provides technical analysis to environmental regulators. I'm testifying today to highlight the opportunity to address air quality and public health impacts of truck emissions through concrete policy actions such as an indirect source rule. Diesel trucks are the main group of vehicles that operate out of warehouses, and they emit harmful pollutants such as NOx, which cause respiratory and cardiovascular disease. And ICCT's research shows that even relatively newer diesel trucks emit high levels of NOx, often above the EPA's engine certification limit levels. This is particularly true at low-speed urban driving conditions, which are typical in neighborhoods where last-mile trucks operate in the city. Recent research has quantified the impact of air pollution from warehouse trucks operating in the U.S. A 2024 study led by Gage Kerr of the Milken Institute, which I supported on, used satellite data of NO2 measurements and found that NO2 levels are nearly 20% higher near warehouses, which are more likely to be in or near communities with large share of racial ethnic minority residents. We see growing evidence of the harmful effects of NO2 exposure on these residents. New research has directly connected NO2 exposure and premature death. The ICCT is working to update our modeling methods to include this cause and effect, which we anticipate will increase our estimates of the traffic-related health impacts. City-level policies are important in addressing the environmental justice issue of air pollution. Transitioning to cleaner and zero-emission trucks measurably improves air quality, and an indirect source rule could be an effective way to reduce the health burden on communities of color that are exposed to the highest levels of harmful air pollution and improve overall public health. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Next, we have Hayden Brockett.
Time starts now.
Hello there. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Aviles, for your leadership on improving New York's air quality, and Chair Gennaro for holding today's hearing. My name is Hayden Brockett. We've met before, and I'm a founding member of the New York Clean Air Collective and a father and husband who participates in the Citizens Air Complaint Program. We, as an organization, and today we share the goal of getting more polluting trucks off of our streets. I'm testifying today to support the committee's good work on clean air legislation, in particular Intro 107, which will require an important study of air quality in our city. I am pleased to see that there are, I think, 41 members of the council who co-sponsor it, and I urge the council to pass Intro 107. We suffer from terribly poor air quality in New York, which unfortunately kills 3,000 New Yorkers each year. As a participant in the Citizens Air Complaint Program, let me just address some incorrect information that Commissioner Agawala gave the committee today about the impact of this program in the context of warehouses and environmental justice communities. As I'm setting forth in my written testimony, the data actually show that our highly successful citizen enforcement program absolutely helps lower emissions today in environmental justice and disadvantaged communities. And this is crucial for the committee's last mile efforts, because air enforcement stops idling both at the warehouses and also at the point of delivery. And Council Member Holden, if you want to stop illegal 53s tomorrow, all you need to do is empower these citizen enforcers to report these trucks in the city. I see them every day. I saw 3 this morning. I'm going to report 1 to DEP. And if you can start issuing tickets today, if you give citizens the power to report these illegal trucks wherever they are in the city. So Intro 107 is a step in the right direction, but unfortunately I have very serious concerns about the language of Intro 1130 as it is currently drafted. I know it's a work in progress, but in its present form, it's a little more than a blank check written from the legislative branch to the executive branch, and that is not a good policy at any time. But the city council should be writing the laws and not ceding its legislative authority to the executive branch. I know it's going to be a dialogue eventually, but it's especially troubling now in 2025 for the city council to make a gigantic and unchecked grant of power to this mayoral administration, compromised as it is. And so that's my concern with 1130 as it is drafted. There are other additional issues that Commissioner Agarwal noted, that there is not going to be an environmental review until 2026. I'm not sure how a CEQA review can even take place, given that there isn't a rule in place at all. There's just sort of a blank check in there. And I just would finally like to say that we should be strengthening the citizen air complaint program. I was glad to see the commissioner talk about using some of his budget to increase the salaries and maybe the headcount of the air inspectors. That's great. I think as the earlier testimony indicated, it's not going to cost $40 million to do the study that we need to get a clear idea of how polluted our air is. Some of that money absolutely can go today, it sounds like, to increasing the number of air inspectors and their salaries. So I just wanted to say thank you so much for this opportunity to testify and for your efforts to clear our air. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hayden, for your consistent and clear advocacy. I appreciate you. Next, we're going to have Jim Wright, followed by Katie Walsh.
Time starts now.
Good afternoon, and thank you, council members Aviles, Holden, your staff, and other members of the committee for holding this hearing. My name is Jim Wright, speaking on behalf of the American Institute of Architects, New York. AIA New York strongly supports the need, purpose, and goals of Intro 1130 to reduce emissions from freight delivery vehicles, still mostly diesel-powered, medium and heavy-duty trucks, delivering goods to and from distribution warehouses operating in New York City. The proposed indirect source rule to be administered by DEP is a tested and effective way to speed up the transition to zero emission vehicles. By improving air quality in neighborhoods most affected by emissions, local public health outcomes will be improved, and importantly, broader sustainability goals from reducing overall carbon emissions in the transportation sector can be advanced. Our testimony today focuses on broad principles of the ISR enabling legislation by the council. First, AIA New York supports an all-agency approach to creating a more sustainable freight network across New York City. In addition to implementing an ISR, the city is committed to address the impacts of large distribution warehouses on local residential areas with its zoning and land use tools. Related to the ISR, consistent standards need to be adopted by DCP and referenced in the ISR that clarify relevant zoning use group definitions for various warehouse types and define clear criteria for floor area calculations in these buildings. As DCP moves forward to develop a special permit process for new large distribution warehouses, DEP and DCP need to coordinate terminology and relevant elements of the regulations to avoid conflicts and/or redundancy. Second, the ISR should apply to a broad range of warehouse facilities with high volume vehicle freight traffic.
Time expired. Thank you.
You can complete your testimony.
Thank you. Not just the largest fulfillment centers and so-called last mile distribution facilities. This could include facilities related to food deliveries from EDC's Hunts Point Food Distribution Center, food delivery services such as Fresh Direct, home improvement deliveries such as Home Depot and IKEA, and even construction material deliveries. Lastly, the distribution warehouse floor area threshold of 50,000 square feet that would trigger the ISR seems overly rigid. Extrapolating from DEP's data, exempting warehouses below this threshold would capture only 40% of New York City's warehouse-related vehicle emissions. Alternatively, a step threshold starting at 25,000 square feet tied to delivery vehicle trip volume with increments up to 1 million square feet and above would capture more of these delivery vehicle emissions and give DEP a larger arsenal of tools to regulate those emissions. Incorporating these principles into enabling legislation will give DEP the flexibility to calibrate the most effective set of regulations and incentives based on local data and results from other jurisdictions that have implemented their own version of an ISR. Thank you for considering these recommendations. We submitted our full written testimony to the council, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Next, we'll have Catherine Walsh, followed by Eric Eisenberg.
Time starts now.
Thanks. My name is Katie Walsh, and I am the Transportation Chair of Community Board 7, which represents Sunset Park and Windsor Terrace. I'm born and raised in Sunset Park, and also have childhood asthma because of growing up in our community and the air quality issues related to it. I've worked tirelessly alongside neighbors in Sunset Park and neighboring Red Hook, with representatives from local schools and faith groups and business and senior centers and community-based organizations, specifically to catalyze, convene, and work to change the status quo on the issues related to last mile trucking and the air quality, transportation, and traffic problems that we have specifically related to the Brooklyn Queens Expressway and 3rd Avenue under the BQE, which is inherently treated like an urban highway by drivers. Many of us started organizing on this issue on last mile trucking in 2018, hosting community meetings with local elected officials, because we know firsthand that these facilities unfairly burden our neighborhood and others throughout New York City with traffic congestion, dangerous streets, poor air quality, and really increasing already elevated asthma rates. In 2021, the Community Board organized a whole special subcommittee specifically to address these issues of last mile facilities and the impact on health and safety. In the last 4 years, we've held dozens of meetings with several hundred people and heard over and over about impacts. We've shared information and attempting to really catalyze action and legislation that we could see at the city and the state level. Because we know, especially that, we're feeling these impacts, and the local air quality monitors, like what was cited earlier, the NICAS 85 sites, don't cut it in terms of the scale and magnitude of the issue. So the first point to make is that we've been consistent in calling for a solution to the problems from last mile trucking, and so we support legislation. I'd like to support Bill 1130 on the indirect source rule, because it is a clear step in addressing the burden placed on communities like ours. Can I keep going?
Yes, you can.
I just want to also register personally support for Intro Bill 107, which designates the high traffic thoroughfares along the roadways. And we need this legislation, again, because the current NICAS, these 85 monitors, do not respond to the needs of local communities like ours or prepare us for the scale and magnitude of the issues that we are facing and will continue to face from extreme weather events, the air quality that results from things like wildfires, which New York has already felt. I know that, it was cited specifically the New York State DEC work that was happening on air quality. That was a moment in time that ACLIMA was working on this. I serve on the Air Quality Monitoring Advisory Committee that the Brooklyn Borough President has been organizing to think about outreach and mitigation actions. And we are being tasked with making recommendations to this New York State air quality legislation. And specifically, one of those is going to be on needing local air quality. So I just want to come back that one of the key recommendations that is going to arise from the New York State work on air quality is coming back to this issue of the city being able to have local air quality and monitoring. So we absolutely need Bill 107. The whole point of this additional monitoring is because the world around us is changing, and we really need to be able to see these changes and use the data to predict future regulation that we need. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Katie, for all your work and advocacy. Next, we have Eric Eisenberg.
Time starts now.
Hi, sorry, there was some issue with me unmuting myself. I'm Eric Eisenberg. A lot of the testimony I was planning to give was covered by the excellent testimony of Hayden Brockett. I do want to expand a little bit on the concern that Hayden expressed about giving the administration and the DEP commissioner a blank check to write their own rules rather than relying on city council to create a well-formed indirect source rule law. I do think that both of the bills that Ms. Aviles proposed today are well-intentioned. I fully support additional monitoring. We already know we lose about 3,000 New Yorkers a year to air pollution, and knowing where in particular is the most deadly might help us a bit. With respect to the giving of power to the DEP commissioner, I think the DEP commissioner tips his hand in a few ways. One of them is the DEP commissioner's Orwellian doublespeak today on multiple occasions that Intro 941 will somehow help air quality. Intro 941 is a poison pill. Numerous environmental groups have provided testimony against Intro 941. The American Civil Liberties Union has also provided testimony that Intro 941 is a violation of the civil rights of environmentalists by cutting off their speech. It's clear that the commissioner is really just interested in a power grab. We've seen other examples of this with respect to the Adams administration and the DEP commissioner with respect to air quality previously. Ms. Aviles sponsored and passed an excellent bill to increase anti-idling, anti-idling enforcement around parks. The DEP used that as an opportunity to weaken anti-idling enforcement near schools. And I thank Councilmember Aviles for speaking out against the DEP's wrongful usurpation of power. I also note that the commissioner has previously tipped his hand by speaking out and questioning the legality of Spanish language speakers reporting air pollution. Of course, it's legal for Spanish language speakers to report air pollution. Again, these are warning signs that the broad rulemaking authority in Intro 1130 to the DEP and the Adams administration is dangerous, and instead we should have City Council write the rules instead of deferring to this very dangerous and frequently anti-environmental administration. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Eric. I hear you. Next, we will have Nathan Taft, followed by Jackie Cohen.
Starting time.
Hi there. Thanks for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Nathan Taft, and I'm with Safe Cities at Stand.Earth. We work with local government leaders around the country on policies to phase out fossil fuels, and we'd like to go on the record as strongly supporting the city taking action to reduce pollution from mega warehouses via actions such as an indirect sources rule. E-commerce mega warehouses generate significant emissions from the large number of delivery trucks that come in and out of the facility each and every day. These mega warehouses operate 24/7 and produce greenhouse gas emissions equal in scale to those from power plants and factories. They require hundreds, sometimes thousands of vehicle trips per day, including a large number of large, heavy-duty diesel trucks. The trucks operating out of the warehouses pollute particulate matter that we've heard about today, nitrogen oxides, volatile organic compounds, and this worsens local air quality, increasing the risk of asthma, heart attacks, and premature deaths in surrounding neighborhoods. Even though diesel-fueled trucks and buses make up only 10% of vehicles on U.S. roads, they are responsible for 50% of the transportation sector's nitrogen oxide emissions. The work that y'all are doing here today is complementary to a state bill, the Clean Deliveries Act, an important piece of legislation that is being considered during this legislative session that Safe Cities also supports. The fact is, the growth of mega warehouses isn't just a problem in New York City, it's a problem across the state, and unchecked warehouses are continuing to crop up in communities with zero regulation. The state bill has a provision to allow cities to develop stronger requirements, and New York City now has a chance to do exactly that. Safe Cities is working with local advocates with deep expertise on this issue, including Earth Justice and the Tri-State Transportation Campaign, and we would like to throw our support behind their specific recommendations on how New York City should address warehouse pollution. Thank you for the opportunity to share our support for New York City taking action and for the chance to speak. Have a great day.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Next, we have Jackie Cohen.
Starting time.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you so much for the opportunity to testify today. I am Jackie Cohen. I'm the Director of Climate and Equity Policy at Tri-State Transportation Campaign. We're a member of the Electrify New York Coalition. I'm proud to be here. I'm here to testify in support of Intro 1130, which would curb emissions stemming from mega warehouses across our city. The rise of e-commerce has fundamentally changed our urban landscape. Last mile warehouses, pivotal in this shift, are now a common feature in and around our cities. They facilitate the near immediate delivery of goods, which drives huge profits for companies like Amazon, but come at an enormous cost to the communities living in their shadows. These football field-sized warehouses, operating 24/7, generate significant emissions from the numerous delivery trucks that come and go. These emissions are not only harmful to the environment, but also to the health of nearby communities, which are often underserved and already overburdened by pollution. 1 in 3 New York City residents, that's about 3 million people, live within a half mile of an e-commerce mega warehouse. But the burden falls disproportionately on disadvantaged communities. And so to paint the picture in numbers, Black residents are 17% more likely to live near these facilities. Latino communities are 13% more likely to be exposed. Low-income neighborhoods face 19% higher exposure rates. And I really resonated with one of the speakers earlier who said that her zip code should not determine her health or her quality of life. The health impacts are severe. Diesel trucks emit particulate matter and nitrogen oxides that worsen air quality and increase risks of asthma, heart attacks, and premature deaths. Though diesel trucks make up a small percentage of vehicles on the road, they produce 50% of all transportation-related nitrogen oxide emissions. Intro 1130 complements the statewide Clean Deliveries Act, which we support, currently under consideration in Albany. Together, these two bills provide a framework for a more sustainable urban delivery system that would benefit all New Yorkers and serves as a national model. As we witness the growth in online shopping, comprehensive regulation has never been more important. And by enacting an indirect source rule for mega warehouses, communities all across the 5 boroughs would benefit from cleaner air, safer streets, and healthier neighborhoods. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Next, we have Dylan Jaff.
You may begin.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the community. My name is Dylan Jaff, and I'm a policy analyst at Consumer Reports, here to express our support for Intro 1130, which is a critical step to reducing emissions attributable to warehouse facilities. CR is a New York-based independent nonprofit membership organization that works side by side with consumers to create a fairer, safer, and healthier world. With the rise of e-commerce across the country and in New York, many companies are causing significant impacts to the communities living around distribution warehouse facilities, contributing to increased air pollution from diesel-based delivery trucks, among other negative impacts. Decades of studies have shown that breathing in particulates from diesel and gasoline exhaust can cause a person's chance of getting asthma and increase a person's chance of getting asthma and developing cancer, while also contributing to preterm births and miscarriages. While all New York City residents are harmed by air pollution, vulnerable communities are the most exposed to distribution warehouse traffic and its resulting polluting emissions. In 2021, Consumer Reports and The Guardian US published an investigative report about the rapid expansion of large Amazon warehouse facilities across the country, which showed that these warehouse facilities are typically built in neighborhoods with disproportionately high numbers of people of color and low-income residents. More recently, in 2022, CR and The Guardian published additional reporting outlining the lack of publicly accessible air quality data associated with the operation of Amazon's last-mile warehouse facilities, specifically in Brooklyn's Red Hook neighborhood. Residents expressed concern with the increase in noise and dangerous traffic associated with these facilities, as well as the fear of additional air quality problems from increased vehicle traffic traveling through their neighborhood. An indirect source rule will help manage the unchecked growth of warehouse facilities and advance environmental justice by requiring mitigation measures at these warehouses, which generate significant vehicle emissions. Consumer Reports strongly urges you to support Intro 1130 and pass an indirect source rule to ensure that communities across New York City are protected from pollution tied to warehouse shipping traffic in their neighborhoods. Thank you.
Thank you so much for all the work you've done in the reporting, specifically in the conditions of Red Hook. Next, we have Robin Markey, followed by Evie Boyd.
Did my time start? Sorry, I didn't hear a cue.
You may begin.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Robin Marquis. I'm here today representing CalSTART as its Senior Director of Innovative Mobility, and I live here in New York City. I want to thank the committee members for this opportunity to provide comments in support of this proposed legislation to regulate indirect sources of air pollution. CalSTART is a nonprofit organization with over 30 years of experience working with businesses, organizations, governments, and communities to mitigate climate change and achieve equitable access to clean transportation for all. In New York State, CalSTART has worked for over a decade on large-scale projects and policies to support this mission, including a New York Clean Transportation Prize Award that is deploying zero-emission trucks in New York City and supporting workforce development. Both the state and the city have set ambitious goals for achieving meaningful and necessary reductions to greenhouse gas emissions and other harmful impacts created by the transportation sector. However, as we've been discussing today, the sharp rise in e-commerce and associated warehouses and trucks will only continue to increase these pollutants without interventions. New York City has over 8,000 warehouse and distribution facilities, which disproportionately impact low-income and communities of color. Indirect source rule policies aim to reduce the emissions from mobile sources of air pollution that access and serve these facilities. This type of policy was adopted in 2021 by an air district in Southern California, and there has already been a reduction in both nitrous oxides, or NOx, and particulate matter. CalSTART supports an indirect source rule approach that has a diverse set of zero-emission menu options, enables multiple pathways towards compliance, and allows flexibility for custom plans that are responsive to site-specific needs and constraints. The local landscape and density in New York City also present an opportunity for multimodal solutions, such as cargo bikes for last-mile deliveries. We appreciate your time today and the opportunity to share these comments with the Council as it addresses a crucial rule to ensure a healthy and thriving New York City. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Next, we have Evie Boyd, followed by Michael Streeter.
You may begin.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much for holding this meeting today. My name is Evie Boyd. I am the Vice President of the Rosedale Civic Association and co-chair of the Civics Quality of Life Committee. Our organization was formed in 1946 to represent the interests of our residents and voters, population of over 25,000 in Southeast Queens. Rosedale is home to growing young families, children, and its older and senior population that still remain in the same homes that they bought years ago. Like has been stated by many others that spoke today, and even our council member Holden, our community is negatively impacted by these large trucks, tractor trailers, industrial warehouses, and industrial pollution. So our recommendations are along the same lines that you've heard today. We're asking that this legislation strongly mandates that these warehouses adopt low emission technologies, transition from electric vehicles, a transition from diesel vehicles to electric vehicles, electric forklifts, and that they also adopt the reduction of island time, which is currently by law, and they're disobeying for the safety of their own workers and the community. And also, because I heard the commissioner mention that there's existing data from air monitors, I would like for that to be transparent and to be made available, because we know that air quality varies from location to location. So we would like to see, does this existing data reflect all of the community, especially the challenges that we're facing in our community, and if this existing data is up to date and if it's comprehensive. Also, one last thing, we ask that the community is involved in the discussions and the decision makings in this important matter. Thank you very much for allowing me to express our concerns.
Thank you so much, Ms. Boyd. We hear your recommendations and requests, and we will be back in touch. We appreciate you. Thank you. Next, we'll have Michael Streeter.
You may begin.
Hi, my name is Michael Streeter. I'm part of the New York Clean Air Collective. I care a lot about air quality, and I want to thank Councilmember Aviles for introducing Intro 107. I'm in awe of some of the testimony we've heard today. I'm in I'm in Red Hook all the time. I live nearby, and the situation by the delivery warehouses in the proximity of schools is pretty dire. You've got Basis Independent right at Columbia and Bay, right by the Amazon Fulfillment Center, and the school has a great rooftop playground. One of my friends' daughters goes there, and it's a great school and great playground, but it's right there, in the open air by tons of vehicles driving in and out. As of last holiday season, you have a new type of fleet of delivery vans there, and they have rooftop reefers. So on a van, so they're exempt from idling laws. So they just sit there idling much of the day. They know that they have the golden ticket on top of their roof, so they leave it running, and no empowered citizen can do anything. So every season, it's something new with Amazon, and we need to better understand the impact of the underregulated last mile facilities. Where and not be playing catch up all the time. So Intro 107 is really important. That said, I highly encourage further workshopping of Intro 1130, as some others have suggested, due to the issues previously mentioned with the Adams administration's history of rulemaking and executive authority. So a strong support for Intro 107 and respectful but appreciative request to work more on Intro 1130. I think it's well intentioned, but I think
Your
it's
time
too
has
much of a
expired.
giveaway. So thank you so much to Chair Gennaro and Councilmember Aviles. Have a great weekend.
Thank you so much for your testimony, Mr. Streeter. So if we've inadvertently missed anyone who registered to testify today and has yet to be called, please use the Zoom raise hand function if you are testifying remotely, and you will be called in the order that your hand has been raised. If you are testifying in person, please come to the dais. Seeing none, either remote or in person, I will now close this hearing. I want to thank the members of the administration, and all the members of the public who joined and testified today. This hearing is adjourned.